Pause. Take a breath. Because what you are about to watch is not just another motivational message, it is a sacred moment crafted just for you. This isn't coincidence, it's divine alignment. God has orchestrated this precise moment to speak life into your soul. You've cried out for a sign, begged for clarity, and waited patiently in the dark, hoping for a breakthrough. Beloved, this is it. Heaven has spoken, and the verdict has been delivered. Your battle is over. Can you feel the shift? The atmosphere is different now. Burdens are lifting, chains are falling, and something powerful is being released into your life. God is not only answering your prayers, He is declaring justice, freedom, and favor over your circumstances. This isn't just encouragement. It's your spiritual confirmation. Before beginning the video, let's subscribe, like this video, and stay with me until the end of this message, and you will understand why you were led here. This is your moment. Picture yourself standing in a divine courtroom bathed in celestial light. Every moment of pain, every silent tear, every whispered prayer has been laid bare, not as evidence of failure, but as proof of endurance. Around you, angelic witnesses stand in reverent silence, acknowledging the battles you've fought in secret. And then, from the throne of heaven, God speaks, not with condemnation, but with compassion. His words resound with power and mercy. The case is closed. This declaration isn't symbolic, it is final, eternal, and personal. What once weighed you down, the never-ending battles, the burdens that felt too heavy to carry, have now been lifted. He has witnessed your growth, your persistence, your faith that held on even when hope seemed distant. The time for struggle is over. The season of striving has come to an end. With this heavenly decree, a spiritual shift begins to unfold. Chains that once held you back are broken. Cycles of pain, patterns of fear, and voices of doubt begin to fall silent. You are no longer on trial. You are no longer in waiting. This is the moment where justice meets grace, where the past loses its grip, and where your new beginning finds its footing. The battle is no longer yours to fight. It belongs to God, and He has already declared victory on your behalf. Your case is closed, and your freedom has begun. Now that the case is closed, the question lingers in your heart. Why did I have to go through so much? Was all that pain truly necessary? The answer is gentle, but profound. Yes, it had a purpose. Your suffering was never in vain. Every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer, and every closed door was part of a divine strategy. Like a blacksmith refining metal through fire, God was shaping you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Preparation always precedes promotion. And your trials were the classroom where strength, wisdom, and spiritual maturity were forged. Just as the Israelites wandered through the wilderness to learn faith and obedience before entering the promised land, your own desert season taught you what comfort never could. In your waiting, you discovered trust. In your heartbreak, you uncovered resilience. In the silence, you heard the whisper of God's voice. Perhaps you learned patience, waiting without giving up. Or you uncovered your true worth, no longer settling for less than God's best. Maybe through deep hurt, you learned forgiveness, not to excuse the wound, but to heal the soul. These were not random struggles. They were sacred lessons, and you've passed them all. Now, like a student graduating after years of study, you stand at the threshold of your next chapter. And because you allowed the pain to mold you, you are now ready to carry the purpose it prepared you for. The pain had a purpose, and now, so does your path forward. Now that the purpose behind your pain has been revealed, something within you shifts. You're not just being released from the past, you're being called into something new. This is more than an ending, it's a divine beginning. The same God who declared your case closed is now opening a door no man can shut. But with every new chapter comes a choice. The familiar, even when painful, can feel strangely safe. Old habits, toxic attachments, and limiting beliefs may try to cling to you like shadows. There's comfort in the known, even when the known has broken your heart. But God is calling you out of survival and into revival. He's asking you to leave behind the identity that was shaped by struggle and step into the person you were always created to become. This chapter isn't defined by hardship. It's marked by healing, growth, and favor. And though it may feel unfamiliar, it is entirely aligned with the destiny God has written for you. Isaiah 43:19 whispers to your soul, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" Yes, it takes courage to walk through a new door, but know this: you are not walking alone. The same God who led you through the valley is guiding you now with purpose and precision. This is your invitation to rise, not just to start over, but to start higher. Your past prepared you, but it no longer defines you. Your new chapter begins now. As you prepare to walk fully into the new chapter God has opened before you, there is one more vital step: letting go. While God has declared your freedom, it is now your responsibility to live in that freedom by releasing what no longer serves your soul. So ask yourself honestly, what am I still holding on to? Maybe it's a wound from the past that reopens when the world goes quiet. Or perhaps it's a voice, faint but persistent, that tells you you're not enough, no matter how far you've come. It could be regret over missed opportunities, guilt that lingers over past decisions, or the belief that you're destined to repeat the same struggles. These are more than just memories. They are attachments, silent chains of emotion that keep you connected to an old version of yourself, one that God has already set free and called into something greater. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means refusing to let your past dictate your future. Releasing attachments is not a denial of your journey. It's a declaration that your story is no longer stuck. Forgiveness is a key part of this release. Forgiving others, forgiving yourself. Not to excuse the pain, but to set your heart free. When you choose release, you create room. Room for healing, room for joy, room for God to do something new. Whisper these words over your heart: I let go. I am not what I was. I am ready to receive what's ahead. Because freedom isn't just given, it must be embraced. With your hands now free from the weight of old attachments, your heart becomes open, ready to receive something far more powerful: divine guidance. The noise of the past once clouded your vision, but in this sacred stillness, you can finally hear what has always been there: God's gentle voice. Divine guidance doesn't always come as thunder from the heavens. More often it arrives in whispers, in the quiet nudge, the sudden peace, the unexpected clarity that settles in your spirit. Like the prophet Elijah, who found God not in the wind, fire, or earthquake, but in a still small voice, you too are invited to lean into the silence, to listen deeply. It begins with presence. A few moments of stillness in the morning, a breath before a decision, a pause in the chaos. These become sacred spaces where God speaks, not with pressure, but with peace, not with fear, but with gentle assurance. As you tune your heart to His frequency, you'll begin to notice divine patterns, doors opening, confirmations aligning, moments of knowing that can't be explained. What once felt like coincidence now feels intentional, guided. And here's the truth: you were never meant to walk this path alone. The God who brought you out is now walking you forward, step by step, whisper by whisper. So slow down, breathe, ask Him, what do you want me to see today? And then trust that even in silence, heaven is speaking. Revelation is a sacred gift, but its true power is only unlocked when it's followed by action. God has spoken. You've received clarity, healing, and confirmation. But now, heaven is asking something of you. Move. Many people stop at the moment of spiritual insight, believing the breakthrough is complete. But a word from God is not an end, it's an invitation. An invitation to trust Him beyond what's comfortable and to step into the unfamiliar with faith. Think of Moses. When God called him to lead His people, it wasn't enough to simply hear the voice from the burning bush. He had to go. Joshua still had to march. Abraham had to leave everything familiar behind. Each one took a step before the miracle ever arrived. So, what about you? Maybe God has placed a dream on your heart, whispered an idea, or nudged you to restore a relationship or take a bold leap forward. Don't let fear keep you paralyzed in the space between knowing and doing. Faith doesn't just believe, it moves. And even the smallest act of obedience can open the door to something far greater than you imagined. Take one step today. Send the message, write the plan, speak the truth. When you act on what God has shown you, you align yourself with His power, and that's where transformation becomes reality. The revelation was real. Now let your response be just as bold. Taking action is a powerful beginning, but to truly walk in the fullness of what God is building in your life, you must strengthen the foundation beneath your feet. Breakthrough is beautiful, but without consistency, even the strongest revelation can fade into memory. Spiritual transformation is not a one-time moment, it's a way of life. Just as a house must be anchored to withstand storms, your new season must be rooted in daily practice. What God has begun in you needs nurturing, shaping, and commitment to grow deep and last long. This means showing up, not just in times of crisis, but in the quiet, ordinary moments. It means starting your day with gratitude instead of worry, turning to prayer before panic, and seeking God's wisdom before the world's answers. These small habits are not small at all. They are the bricks that build a life anchored in truth. There will be distractions. There will be days when old patterns try to return. But now you have the tools to respond differently. You're not building on shifting emotions. You're building on God's faithfulness. Stay rooted. Return often to the promises He's spoken over your life. Let His word be your compass. Let worship be your rhythm. Let grace be the mortar that holds it all together. Because this isn't just about experiencing freedom. It's about living from it day by day. And strong foundations don't just hold your present. They carry your future. A strong foundation anchors you, but it's faith that keeps you standing through every changing season. It's what sustains you in the valleys, in the waiting, and in the quiet spaces where answers haven't yet arrived. There will be days when the light feels dim, when doubts whisper louder than truth, and when circumstances seem to challenge everything God has promised. But that's when your faith must speak louder, not a loud faith in words, but a steady faith in posture. A heart that says, even when I don't see it, I still believe. Remember, God's promises are not dependent on your emotions. He is faithful even when you feel uncertain. Like the disciples caught in a storm, you might fear the waves, but Jesus is in the boat, calm, unwavering, and in control. When fear returns, don't run, be still. When questions rise, don't panic, pray. Let your faith be a quiet anchor, not a desperate shout. Because true faith doesn't deny the storm, it trusts the one who commands it. And when joy comes, when victories arrive, don't forget where your strength came from. Let your gratitude be loud, and your devotion even louder. Faith is not fragile when it's built on God's truth. It is unshakable. This journey you're on isn't about never facing trouble again. It's about facing it differently, with God beside you and faith within you. That kind of faith holds, always. As your faith matures and your foundation strengthens, something beautiful begins to happen. You don't just carry God's truth, you become a vessel of it. Your life starts to reflect the very grace that sustained you. You are no longer just receiving from God. Now you're overflowing. This isn't about perfection or performance. It's about availability. God isn't looking for flawless people. He's looking for willing hearts. Hearts that say, "Here I am, Lord. Use me." When you've walked through fire and come out refined, your life becomes a light for others still searching for a way out. Your testimony becomes someone else's roadmap. Your healing becomes a signpost that hope is real. You begin to live not just for survival, but for impact. And it happens in the everyday moments. A kind word, a listening ear, a bold act of obedience when no one is watching. These are the ways you carry His presence into a hurting world. You become the bridge between brokenness and restoration. Just as Jesus walked among people, not above them, so are you called to live, humbly, compassionately, and courageously. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs hearts set on fire by love, filled with grace and willing to shine. You are that vessel. Your scars now carry purpose. Your story carries light. And your life is becoming a living testimony to what God can do through a surrendered soul. You've come a long way, from wounds to wisdom, from waiting to awakening. You've stood in the fire and found faith, walked through darkness and discovered light. And now, with your burdens lifted and your spirit renewed, the path ahead is clear. It's time, not just to believe differently, but to live differently. God has closed the case. The battle that once defined you no longer has power over you. You are not who you used to be. You are stronger, braver, more grounded in truth than ever before. And this new chapter you're stepping into, it's not something to tiptoe through. It's something to embrace with boldness. Walk forward with your head high, not in pride, but in purpose. Carry what God has placed within you, the peace, the vision, the calling, and let it shape every word you speak, every step you take. The road ahead may have challenges, but now you face them with faith, not fear. You were never meant to stay where you were. You were meant to rise, to rebuild, and to reflect God's glory through your story. So take the next step, then the next, and let your life echo the truth. You are chosen. You are ready. You are free. The battle is over. The breakthrough is here, and your future is wide open. Now go. Walk boldly. Your story is just beginning. Tears, often dismissed as signs of weakness. But what if I told you that when a chosen one cries, something shifts, not just within their soul, but across the entire universe? This is not a metaphor. It's a spiritual reality hidden in plain sight. For the awakened, for the seekers, for those who carry divine assignments on earth, every tear is not merely sorrow. It is a summons, a signal, a supernatural ripple that calls forth change. Have you ever felt an unexplainable energy when someone near you wept from the depth of their soul? Now imagine that same energy magnified, because the person crying is not just anyone. They are a chosen one, marked by purpose, burdened with healing, destined to awaken the sleeping. Tears are often dismissed as weakness, fleeting expressions of sorrow that fade as quickly as they fall. But when a chosen one weeps, something far deeper is at play. Their tears are not ordinary. They are charged with divine resonance, vibrating at a spiritual frequency that reaches beyond the physical realm. Each tear is a sacred signal, a whisper to the heavens that a shift is taking place in the fabric of reality. Chosen ones walk with an invisible weight, carrying divine assignments that are often misunderstood by those around them. Their hearts are open, their spirits sensitive to the energies of the world. When they cry, it is not merely personal pain leaking out. It is a release of energetic truth, a surge of divine emotion that echoes through spiritual dimensions. Their sorrow speaks in a language the universe understands. All throughout history and ancient stories, we find examples that prove this truth. Jesus wept at the tomb of Lazarus, and moments later, resurrection followed. The Buddha shed silent tears beneath the Bodhi tree before stepping into enlightenment. These were not just emotional responses, they were spiritual catalysts, acts that awakened divine intervention and altered the course of history. What makes the tears of a chosen one different is not the emotion itself, but the authority behind it. Their tears carry assignment. They carry prophecy. They are the breaking point of human endurance and the turning point of divine purpose. So when a chosen one weeps, the atmosphere shifts. Heaven leans in. The unseen realm responds. To the world, it may seem like they are breaking, but in truth, they are activating. Something ancient, something sacred stirs within them, and the universe takes notice. Because when a chosen one sheds tears, it isn't just emotion, it's divine energy in motion. Tears, often dismissed as signs of weakness. But what if I told you that when a chosen one cries, something shifts? Not just within their soul, but across the entire universe. This is not a metaphor. It's a spiritual reality hidden in plain sight. For the awakened, for the seekers, for those who carry divine assignments on earth, every tear is not merely sorrow. It is a summons, a signal, a supernatural ripple that calls forth change. Have you ever felt an unexplainable energy when someone near you wept from the depth of their soul? Now imagine that same energy magnified, because the person crying is not just anyone. They are a chosen one, marked by purpose, burdened with healing, destined to awaken the sleeping. Tears are often dismissed as weakness, fleeting expressions of sorrow that fade as quickly as they fall. But when a chosen one weeps, something far deeper is at play. Their tears are not ordinary. They are charged with divine resonance, vibrating at a spiritual frequency that reaches beyond the physical realm. Each tear is a sacred signal, a whisper to the heavens that a shift is taking place in the fabric of reality. Chosen ones walk with an invisible weight, carrying divine assignments that are often misunderstood by those around them. Their hearts are open, their spirits sensitive to the energies of the world. When they cry, it is not merely personal pain leaking out. It is a release of energetic truth, a surge of divine emotion that echoes through spiritual dimensions. Their sorrow speaks in a language the universe understands. All throughout history and ancient stories, we find examples that prove this truth. Jesus wept at the tomb of Lazarus, and moments later, resurrection followed. The Buddha shed silent tears beneath the Bodhi tree before stepping into enlightenment. These were not just emotional responses, they were spiritual catalysts, acts that awakened divine intervention and altered the course of history. What makes the tears of a chosen one different is not the emotion itself, but the authority behind it. Their tears carry assignment. They carry prophecy. They are the breaking point of human endurance and the turning point of divine purpose. So when a chosen one weeps, the atmosphere shifts. Heaven leans in. The unseen realm responds. To the world, it may seem like they are breaking, but in truth, they are activating. Something ancient, something sacred stirs within them, and the universe takes notice. Because when a chosen one sheds tears, it isn't just emotion, it's divine energy in motion. What happens when someone harms a chosen one? At first, nothing may seem to change. Life carries on as if nothing happened, but over time, a shift begins, often quiet, but undeniable. Things start to unravel, and those who once stood tall find themselves stumbling. Why? Because the universe operates on an unbreakable principle, balance. And when a chosen one, someone aligned with a divine mission, is hurt unjustly, that balance is disrupted. Their tears don't just fall unnoticed, they ripple through unseen realms, activating what many call karma, but in truth is spiritual justice. This isn't about revenge, it's about restoration. When someone wounds a chosen one, whether through betrayal, deception, or cruelty, they unknowingly trigger a spiritual chain reaction. It might not be immediate, but it is inevitable. The energy they send out must return. This is why so many people who mistreat pure-hearted souls later find themselves facing unexpected hardship. Doors that were once open close. Relationships fall apart. Opportunities vanish. It's not punishment. It's the natural response of a universe protecting what is sacred. Chosen ones are not just individuals. They are vessels of light. Harming them is like throwing a stone into a sacred river. The ripples reach far, and eventually, they come back. So if you've ever wronged a chosen one, even unknowingly, take it seriously. Seek forgiveness. Realign with truth. Because when a chosen one sheds tears, the universe listens, and it always responds. When a chosen one cries, it might seem to others like they're falling apart, overwhelmed by pain, betrayal, or the weight they've been carrying. But on a deeper level, that moment is actually the start of something powerful. A major shift is taking place. You see, their tears don't fall in vain. They carry the weight of unspoken prayers, suppressed emotions, and divine energy ready to move. And once released, that energy begins to reshape everything around them. Relationships start to shift. Environments feel different. People disappear, some by choice, others removed by unseen forces. It may feel like rejection, but in truth, it is redirection. The universe is clearing the path. After deep emotional pain, a chosen one often finds themselves standing in the ruins of what once was, friendships lost, careers left behind, familiar places no longer feeling like home. But these losses are not endings, they are openings. The storm did not destroy them. It washed away what no longer belonged. In this sacred clearing, clarity comes, strength returns, and new doors begin to open. Not just opportunities, but revelations. Many chosen ones awaken to higher truths in the aftermath of heartbreak. Their vision sharpens. Their purpose becomes clearer. This is the divine pattern. The breakdown comes first, then the breakthrough. The tears water the ground where transformation takes root. And from that pain, something extraordinary begins to grow. So when a chosen one weeps, don't mistake it for weakness. It's the first sign of renewal, a divine reset, a powerful transition from who they were to who they were always meant to become. Because after the storm comes the shift. From the outside, a chosen one's lowest moment may look like the end, a collapse under the weight of betrayal, isolation, or heartbreak. But in truth, it is the beginning of something sacred, because the very pain meant to break them becomes the fire that refines them. Suffering, though bitter, awakens something powerful within. When a chosen one is pushed to the edge, it is not defeat that greets them, it is revelation. Through their tears, they begin to shed everything that no longer serves their purpose: false attachments, limiting beliefs, relationships misaligned with their destiny. Their sorrow becomes a sacred stripping away, preparing the ground for something greater. And then, the rise begins. Slowly but with divine certainty, they start to rebuild, not the life they had, but the life they were always meant to live. They speak with more wisdom, move with greater clarity, and walk with deeper purpose. The pain didn't just shape them, it awakened their true power. This is the unseen transformation. While the world believes they've been defeated, they're actually evolving. Like seeds buried in darkness, their growth begins underground, in silence, in secret. But when they rise, they are stronger, more focused, more aligned. Those who once doubted them begin to take notice. The ones who walked away now look back in disbelief, because the chosen one they once overlooked is now rising, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. So if you've watched someone fall and assumed it was the end of their story, think again. For the chosen one, pain is not a prison. It's a passage. It doesn't destroy them. It reveals who they truly are. Hurting someone who carries light is never just a personal act. It's a spiritual one. And when that someone is a chosen one, aligned with divine purpose, the consequences of that harm reach far beyond what the eye can see. Many believe they can mistreat kind-hearted people and walk away untouched. They might manipulate, betray, or take advantage, assuming their actions will be forgotten. But what they don't realize is that the pain they cause doesn't disappear. It transforms. It becomes energy, and that energy begins to move in ways they cannot control. The tears of a chosen one are not silent in the spiritual realm. They are loud cries for justice that summon divine forces. And once those forces are in motion, the energy must return to where it came from. What was sent out must come back, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once, but always with purpose. This is not about revenge. It's not about punishment. It's about balance. The universe is built on it. And when that balance is disturbed by wrongdoing, especially against those chosen to carry light, it is only a matter of time before correction follows. Many who have harmed chosen ones eventually face consequences they never expected. Unexpected losses, emotional turmoil, missed opportunities. Life begins to unravel, and they don't always connect the dots. But the spiritual realm never forgets. If you've ever caused harm to someone who only wished you well, take it seriously. Reflect. Make amends. Because hurting a chosen one is never just between you and them. It's between you and the laws that govern the unseen. And those laws, they always respond. When life pushes a chosen one to the edge, when everything they trusted seems to fall apart, it may seem like they're being crushed beyond repair. But what looks like the end is often just the beginning of a divine transformation. The journey of a chosen one is never easy. They face trials that test not just their strength, but their spirit. They lose people they love, endure rejection, and walk through seasons of deep loneliness. Yet through it all, something greater is happening. Something the eye can't see but the soul can feel. Every loss becomes a lesson. Every heartbreak, a redirection, and every breakdown, a setup for breakthrough. While the world sees only the pain, heaven sees preparation. The crushing isn't meant to destroy them. It's meant to extract what's pure, what's purposeful, what's divine. Just like olives must be pressed to produce oil, chosen ones often find their greatest power in their most painful seasons. It's in the pressing that their true anointing begins to flow. And when they rise, because they always do, they carry a presence that's different. Sharpened by experience, humbled by pain, and aligned with purpose, they no longer fit the mold of who they used to be. They emerge stronger, wiser, and ready for the next level of their calling. The path from crushed to crowned is never straight. It is winding, painful, and full of uncertainty. But for those who are chosen, it's sacred. It's part of the divine cycle, one that turns pain into purpose and sorrow into strength. So if you're in the middle of the crushing, hold on. You're not being buried. You're being prepared. To every chosen one listening, know this. Your tears were never wasted. Your pain has purpose. You were never meant to blend in, because you were born to break cycles, to carry light into dark places, and to awaken souls still asleep to their own power. If you've ever felt the weight of being misunderstood, if you've walked through seasons of sorrow that made no sense, yet found yourself stronger on the other side, then you are not alone. You are part of something bigger, something sacred. You are walking the chosen path. Thank you for spending this time with us and for opening your heart to this message. If it resonated with you, if it stirred something deep within, we invite you to join our growing family of awakened souls. Subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss a message meant for your spirit. Life doesn't move in a straight line. It unfolds through different seasons, challenges, and moments of deep realization. For many, society defines success by age milestones. Graduate in your 20s, peak in your 30s, and settle down by 40. But what if the real journey doesn't begin until 40? What if your 40th birthday is not a countdown to aging, but a divine appointment for becoming? If you've always felt different, out of place in shallow conversations, drawn toward deeper meaning, or burdened by an invisible calling, then this message is for you. You are a chosen one, a soul with a sacred purpose, and your life truly begins at 40. Let us walk together through the 8 profound reasons why this chapter of your life might just be the most important one yet. 1. You have mastered the art of letting go. In the earlier chapters of life, the instinct to hold on is strong. We cling to relationships, identities, and expectations, not always because they nourish us, but because they're familiar. Even when something hurts, we hesitate to release it, fearing the emptiness that might follow. Letting go feels like failure, like giving up on what we once hoped would last. But something shifts as you step into the wisdom of 40. You begin to see letting go not as loss, but as liberation. You recognize that release is not about giving up. It's about making room. Room for peace. Room for joy. Room for the person you are becoming. With each heartbreak, every disappointment, and every season of pain, you've gathered something precious. Clarity. You've learned that holding on to what no longer serves your growth only weighs you down. And now, you no longer mourn what leaves. You bless it, thank it for its lesson, and gently open your hands. This is not a lesson learned overnight. It's carved from years of living, of wrestling with change, and of slowly awakening to the truth that your worth is not tied to what you keep, but to what you're willing to release for the sake of your becoming. Letting go has become a quiet strength in your life. It has shown you how to trust the ups and downs, how to let go without fear, and how to make room for what truly belongs. In doing so, you've found real peace. 2. Time no longer controls you. For much of your life, time felt like a race. There was always a clock ticking, subtle, relentless, pushing you to do more, to be more, to reach certain milestones by certain ages. Whether it was career, relationships, or personal success, everything seemed urgent, as if you were falling behind some invisible standard set by society. But now, as you step into the deeper awareness that comes with 40, something profound begins to shift. You start to understand that the pressure was never real. It was only a story you were taught to believe. Time is no longer your master. It becomes your companion. Instead of rushing, you begin to trust. Trust that your life is unfolding exactly as it should. Trust that divine timing governs every chapter, every opportunity, and every pause. This realization brings freedom. The anxiety that once lived in the gap between where you are and where you thought you should be begins to fade. You become grounded in the present, no longer haunted by the past or obsessed with the future. You move with intention now, not urgency. You understand that what is meant for you will never miss you. And in that stillness, in that surrender, you finally reclaim your rhythm, not by speeding up, but by letting go of the need to rush. Time no longer controls you. It flows with you. 3. You discover your true purpose. In the earlier seasons of life, purpose often feels elusive. You try on different roles, pursuing careers, chasing dreams, achieving goals, all in hopes that one of them will finally feel like home. Yet, despite your efforts, something always seems to be missing. A quiet ache lingers beneath the surface, whispering that there's more to who you are than what the world sees. At 40, that whisper becomes a revelation. Suddenly, the scattered pieces of your past begin to make sense. The struggles that once seemed random, the paths that ended abruptly, and the years that felt wasted, all of it begins to reveal its purpose. What once looked like detours now appear as necessary steps in your becoming. You realize that your pain was not punishment, but preparation. Every setback sharpened your insight. Every redirection refined your calling. And now, for the first time, you feel a sense of inner alignment, a deep knowing that you are exactly where you're meant to be. This is the moment when purpose stops being a question and starts becoming a calling. It's not about titles or applause. It's about impact, meaning, and living in harmony with your soul. You no longer chase purpose outside yourself. You remember it from within. You step forward not with uncertainty, but with conviction, because you've been prepared for this. And now, you are ready to walk in your truth, not to prove anything, but simply to fulfill what was always yours to carry. 4. You no longer seek external validation. There was a time when being seen, understood, and approved by others felt essential. You shaped parts of yourself to fit in, softened your voice, concealed your doubts, and wore masks that kept you feeling safe. Praise felt like affirmation, criticism like rejection. And so, You lived much of your life seeking permission to be who you truly were. But with age and experience comes clarity. And at 40, something within you shifts. You begin to understand that real freedom doesn't come from being accepted by others. It comes from accepting yourself. The validation you once craved from the outside begins to rise from within. You no longer feel the need to explain your choices or justify your path. The opinions that once shaped you now pass through you, no longer holding power. This new confidence isn't loud or performative. It's quiet, rooted, and unshakable. It comes from knowing who you are, flaws, gifts, history, and all, and choosing to honor that truth unapologetically. You stop bending to expectations that no longer serve you. You let go of the need to be liked, and instead focus on being real. You no longer chase approval because you've realized that worth isn't given. It's remembered. Now you walk your path with integrity. Whether others understand or not no longer defines you, because your value isn't found in their applause. It's found in your own alignment with your truth, your peace, and your purpose. 5. Your spiritual awakening deepens. Spiritual awakening often begins as a subtle stirring, a quiet pull towards something greater than yourself. In your younger years, it may have shown up in moments of wonder, a longing for deeper meaning, or unexplainable feelings that whispered of something beyond the physical world. But life's noise often drowned those whispers out. Now, at 40, those whispers grow louder, clearer. The distractions that once consumed your energy begin to fade, and in their place emerges a hunger for truth, stillness, and connection. You no longer chase answers in the outer world. Instead, you turn inward, and there, you find wisdom waiting. The challenges you've faced, the synchronicities you've witnessed, the paths that led you through both light and shadow, none of it was random. You begin to see a divine pattern woven through it all. What once felt chaotic now feels orchestrated with sacred precision. Your intuition sharpens, your dreams carry meaning. You find yourself drawn to practices that nourish your soul, whether it's prayer, meditation, journaling, or simply moments of silence beneath the sky. These are no longer habits. They are lifelines. You begin to trust the guidance that flows from within. You understand that the divine doesn't live somewhere far away. It lives within you. And as you deepen this connection, you begin to live with a sense of peace, purpose, and profound alignment. This is no longer just an awakening. It is a return, a homecoming to your truest self. 6. Your energy becomes magnetic. As you grow into yourself, you begin to sense the world differently, not just through sight or sound, but through energy. At 40, your awareness sharpens. You notice how people make you feel, how environments affect your peace, and how your own presence carries weight. This isn't imagination, it's intuition coming alive. In earlier years, you may have ignored the heaviness around certain people or tolerated spaces that drained your spirit. You stayed out of obligation, habit, or fear of conflict. But now you move differently. You protect your energy like it's sacred, because you finally understand that it is. This new awareness transforms how you live. You no longer give your time to relationships that pull you down or conversations that leave you empty. Instead, you seek alignment, harmony, flow. You know when something resonates with your soul and when it doesn't, and you honor that without guilt. As you become more intentional with your thoughts, emotions, and actions, your energy shifts. It strengthens, it clarifies, and that clarity becomes magnetic. You begin attracting people, opportunities, and experiences that reflect your growth and support your journey. You are no longer just reacting to life, you are shaping it. With focused energy and conscious presence, you create space for joy, peace, and purpose to thrive. Your energy speaks before you do, and now it speaks truth, strength, and light. 7. You embrace solitude as sacred. There was a time when solitude echoed like loneliness, a gentle ache that slipped in with the silence when the world finally grew quiet. You may have filled your days with noise, people, or distractions just to avoid the silence. Like many, you once believed that being alone meant something was missing. But now, at 40, solitude transforms into something sacred. You begin to see that silence isn't empty, it's full of truth. In the stillness, you meet yourself again, not the version shaped by expectations, but the one your soul has always known. You no longer run from quiet moments. You crave them. Solitude becomes your sanctuary. It's in these spaces of retreat that clarity emerges. You reflect, realign, and reconnect with the divine voice within. No longer do you seek validation or direction from the outside. Instead, you turn inward and discover a source of wisdom that has always been there, waiting. You understand now that solitude doesn't separate you from the world. It strengthens your presence in it. Time alone becomes a place of healing, of creativity, of spiritual renewal. You find beauty in your own company and strength in your own stillness. What once felt heavy now feels holy. You realize you were never truly alone, because Spirit, the universe, and your higher self have been walking beside you all along. And in this sacred quiet, you rise stronger, clearer, and more connected than ever before. 8. You finally live for yourself. For much of your life, you may have worn masks to meet expectations of family, of society, even of your younger self. You made choices to please others, to avoid conflict, or to fit into roles that never truly reflected who you are. You put your own dreams on hold, telling yourself there would be time later. But now, something within you awakens. At 40, you begin to see life differently. You realize how precious time is, and how costly it is to live a life that doesn't belong to you. The weight of expectation starts to fall away, and in its place rises something more powerful: permission. Permission to be honest, to be bold, to finally be you. You no longer feel the need to shrink yourself to keep others comfortable. You no longer trade your peace for approval. Instead, you begin choosing what aligns with your spirit, not out of rebellion, but out of reverence for your truth. Living for yourself doesn't mean abandoning those you love. It means showing up more fully, more authentically, because you're no longer living divided. You pursue passions that light you up. You say yes when it feels right, and no without guilt. You honor your needs, your voice, your worth. This is not selfishness. It's wholeness. You are no longer surviving life. You are shaping it with intention and courage. And in doing so, you finally begin to live, not for anyone else's story, but for your own. If you've made it to this point in life, through the storms, the stillness, the questions, and the quiet awakenings, know this: you didn't come this far by accident. Every detour was direction. Every delay was divine timing. Everything you've endured was part of a sacred preparation to bring you here, to this moment of arrival. 40 is not the beginning of the end. It's the unveiling of who you were always meant to be. You are not behind. You are becoming. This chapter is not about chasing more, proving your worth, or meeting someone else's timeline. It's about reclaiming your power, honoring your truth, and stepping fully into the life your soul was born to live. You are no longer who the world told you to be. You are who you were called to be. So walk forward with grace, with purpose, with your heart open and your spirit grounded. The best isn't behind you. The best is just beginning. If this message has stirred something within you, if it resonated with your spirit, then you were meant to hear it. Thank you for sharing this space, for opening your heart, and for walking this path with us. If you feel aligned with this journey, we invite you to subscribe to our channel, a place where purpose meets presence and awakening is celebrated. Join a growing community of souls walking in truth, light, and divine timing. The best is yet to come, and we're just getting started. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the noise of the world fades just long enough for the voice of truth to whisper through. Maybe it comes through a question you can't shake, a dream that won't let go, or a quiet nudge in your spirit that whispers, "There's more to you than what you've been told." You may not have always been able to name it, but deep within you, you've always felt it, this undeniable sense that you are different, destined for something greater. But for as long as you've sensed it, others have tried to dim that light, to bury your brilliance, to make you doubt the very essence of your soul. Why? Because they saw your light before you did, and they feared what might happen if you saw it too. This is not just a message, it's a spiritual awakening, a revelation hidden for generations, a divine call written into your DNA, placed there by the one who created you before the foundations of the world. And now, it's time you remembered who you really are. From the very first breath you drew, something about your presence was different. You may not remember it clearly, but the atmosphere around you shifted, almost as if the heavens themselves paused to mark your arrival. You were born not just into a family or a culture, but into a divine timeline where your life would serve a higher purpose. While others were learning to crawl and play, you may have felt an unusual stillness in certain moments, an inner awareness that made you observe more deeply than a child your age should. These weren't simply personality quirks or chance experiences. They were early echoes of something sacred woven into your spirit. Long before you could articulate your thoughts, you sensed something invisible watching over you, calling you forward, whispering truths that only your heart could hear. You didn't choose this awareness. It was chosen for you. Every unexplainable pull toward silence, every spark of wonder in your soul when gazing at the stars, every time you felt peace in solitude. Those were moments when eternity brushed against time, leaving fingerprints on your soul. The world may have overlooked these signs, but heaven never did. While others might have thought you shy or overly reflective, the truth is that you were already listening to a frequency few could hear. It was the divine rhythm of destiny, already pulsing inside you. The Bible reminds us in Ephesians 1:4 that you were chosen before the foundation of the world, meaning your calling predates even creation itself. You are not random. You are a living thread in the tapestry of God's eternal design. And that strange sense of being different, that quiet inner knowing that never quite left you, it's the spiritual inheritance of someone marked for more. The signs were always there, gently guiding you, nudging you toward the path you were created to walk. You don't need to fabricate your worth or prove your calling. It's been with you since the beginning, silently maturing inside your soul. Now is the time to remember what the world has tried to make you forget. You were set apart from the start. There are people who walk through life fitting perfectly into the mold set before them, blending in effortlessly with the rhythm of the world. But that was never your story. From a young age, you sensed that your path diverged from the expected. While others laughed carelessly, chasing trends and blending into social circles, you often found yourself on the outside. Not because you couldn't belong, but because you saw life through a deeper lens. The questions that stirred in your soul were not the kind most children asked. Why am I here? What does all of this mean? These weren't fleeting curiosities. They were signs of something ancient waking up within you. You tried to explain how you felt, but often met blank stares or uncomfortable silence. And so, you learned to carry the weight of your questions quietly. But that internal depth was not a mistake. It was your preparation. The world labeled you as different, but God had labeled you as destined. Your mind, your heart, your sensitivity, it was all crafted by design. Like the young prophet Samuel, who heard God's voice before he even understood who was speaking, you too were being called long before anyone around you could see it. It wasn't that you were lost. It was that the world was not equipped to recognize what you carried. When others chased popularity, your spirit yearned for purpose. When people ignored the pain of others, you felt it like your own. You may have felt isolated, but that very isolation was sacred ground, where God was forming your identity, setting you apart for a mission only you could fulfill. Often, those chosen to lead are the ones who are misunderstood the most. Think of Moses, Esther, or Joseph. Their early lives were filled with contradiction, rejection, and delay, but it all served to shape the strength required for their divine purpose. Your struggles have not been signs of weakness. They've been the chiseling tools of heaven, carving purpose into the very core of your being. You were never made to follow the crowd. You were born to carry light into places that have forgotten how to see. And even if the world still doesn't fully understand you, heaven always has. There's a certain kind of pain that doesn't leave bruises on the skin, but lingers deep in the soul, the pain of rejection. And if you've known it, not just once, but as a pattern throughout your life, it's likely because your spirit carries something that made others uncomfortable. Not everyone can handle the weight of someone who was born to shift atmospheres. People sensed something different in you, something they couldn't quite explain, so they kept their distance, misunderstood you, or even pushed you away. You may have spent years asking what was wrong with you, trying to fix yourself to be more acceptable, to make others feel more at ease. But what you didn't realize then was that their rejection wasn't a reflection of your inadequacy. It was confirmation of your calling. The most powerful souls in history, those destined to bring change, almost always began as outsiders. Look at Joseph, betrayed by his brothers not because he was weak, but because of the greatness they could see forming in him. Or consider Jesus himself, rejected by the very people he came to save. Their stories remind us that rejection doesn't disqualify you. It often reveals you. In truth, being set apart will always come with the cost of not fitting in. The world rarely recognizes the sacred when it's wrapped in human flesh. But heaven does. The very places where you were overlooked, abandoned, or underestimated were often the places God used to refine you. Every no was training. Every closed door was redirection. Every season of loneliness was a classroom in which God taught you to lean not on the approval of man, but on the presence of the one who called you. In Jeremiah 1:5, God says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." That is not poetry. It is your reality. You were never meant to be ordinary. You carry a sacred fire within you by nature, cannot be confined. So don't curse the rejection. It was part of your making. You weren't cast aside. You were carved out for something far greater than they could see. While others brush past people without noticing the weight in their eyes or the tremble in their voice, you couldn't help but feel it. Deeply, fully, sometimes overwhelmingly. Even as a child, you may have sensed when someone was hurting, even when they smiled. You could walk into a room and instantly pick up on unspoken emotions, subtle energies, and buried pain. And maybe for much of your life, you thought something was wrong with you, that you were too sensitive, too emotional, too much. But what if that sensitivity wasn't a flaw, but a divine imprint, a signature of the Creator, woven into your spirit with intention? What if your ability to feel wasn't a burden, but a sacred gift designed to reflect the heart of God? People like you, those with tender spirits and deep compassion, are often the first to feel the brokenness of the world and the last to give up on it. That is no accident. It's because God trusted you with a heart like His. Scripture tells us in Galatians 6:2, "Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." And that's what you've done, again and again, without needing recognition, without seeking reward. You were the one people turned to in silence, because your presence spoke safety. But what others often failed to realize is how much it cost you to carry what wasn't yours. You've poured out comfort, understanding, love, and sometimes been left empty in return. Still, you gave, because something inside you wouldn't let you walk away. That's not weakness, that's spiritual strength clothed in quiet humility. You weren't created to harden your heart. You were created to heal with it. Your empathy is not just emotional, it's prophetic. You see what others overlook. You feel what others silence. And that makes you a vessel of light in a darkened world. So if you've ever wondered why you carry the burdens you do, or why your heart breaks for people you barely know, it's because heaven gave you a heart big enough to hold more than your own pain. And in a world desperate for love, that kind of heart is holy. There are dreams that vanish the moment we open our eyes, soft fragments of imagination that drift away like morning mist. But then, there are the others, the ones that feel more real than waking life. If you've ever awakened with your heart racing, clutching a message you couldn't quite explain, or if a dream has followed you for days, tugging at your spirit as if it carried a secret meant only for you, then you've touched something sacred. For those who are chosen, dreams are often more than sleep. They are encounters, divine whispers in the quiet hours of the night. You may have dismissed them, or kept them to yourself for fear of being misunderstood, but you've always known, these dreams are different. You've seen glimpses of the future, warnings, callings, even faces you've never met in places you've never been. And it wasn't just imagination. It was the spiritual realm speaking into your life. Throughout Scripture, God uses dreams to guide and reveal, to protect and prepare. Joseph, the son of Jacob, saw visions of his future long before it came to pass. Though he was mocked, sold, and imprisoned, those very dreams became the blueprint for his divine purpose. And just like him, your dreams may have been misunderstood, but they were never meaningless. You see, chosen ones often have a thinner veil between the physical and the spiritual. Your sleep doesn't disconnect you. It connects you to something higher. When the world grows quiet, heaven speaks. The Bible reminds us in Joel 2:28, "Your sons and daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions." God has always used dreams to deliver divine instruction, and He still does. The question is, are you listening? Perhaps you've had dreams that felt too powerful to ignore, too alive to forget. Maybe you've even seen events unfold that you once only dreamed about. That's calling. It's preparation for a destiny that stretches far beyond what your waking mind can comprehend. So the next time you close your eyes and feel yourself swept into something larger than life, don't brush it off. God may be speaking, preparing you, inviting you to remember what your soul already knows. Your dreams are more than visions. They are keys to your purpose. There have been times in your life when something invisible stepped in to protect or guide you. Moments you didn't fully notice at first. A delay that frustrated you at the time, but later spared you from danger. A closed door that protected you from a heartbreak you didn't see coming. A narrow escape, a sudden opportunity, a peace that surrounded you in the middle of chaos. These moments weren't luck. They weren't coincidence. They were proof that you've been shielded by a presence far greater than you realized. While you were busy questioning your worth or wondering if anyone truly saw you, heaven was already moving on your behalf. God's hand was there in the shadows, redirecting, rerouting, preserving. And not just once, but again and again. If you look closely, you'll see the pattern. Divine fingerprints all over your journey. You've walked through fire and somehow didn't burn. You've faced storms and came out with a strength that even surprised you. These aren't just survival stories. They're signs. You are being kept, not by your own strength, but by God's divine protection. The Bible promises in Psalm 34:7, "The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear Him, and He delivers them." You may not have seen the angels, but you felt the rescue. When everything could have gone wrong, somehow it didn't. When you didn't have the answers, provision still showed up. When you were at your lowest, you were carried. This isn't to say the journey has been easy, but even in your hardest battles, you were never truly alone. There's a reason you're still standing. There's a reason you've come through things that would have crushed others. It's because your life is tied to a purpose that has not yet been fulfilled. You are still breathing because there is still something heaven is calling you to do. That instinct you've had, that knowing deep down that you've been preserved for more. You're here by divine design, and every time the enemy tried to write your ending, God was already preparing a new beginning. So take heart. You are protected, not because you're lucky, but because you're chosen. And the one who calls you will never stop covering you. There's always been something inside you that resisted the pull to follow the crowd. Even when it would have been easier to blend in, to agree, to stay quiet, something in your spirit whispered, "This isn't your way." And maybe you tried to silence it at times, to go along just to keep the peace, but you couldn't, because you weren't made to echo the voices of others. You were born to carry a sound that is uniquely yours. From the very beginning, leadership has been in your bones, not in the form of control or titles, but in the quiet courage to walk a different road. Chosen ones are rarely the loudest in the room, but they carry a presence that shifts the atmosphere. And that's why you've often felt misunderstood. You weren't ignoring the rules. You were born to rewrite them. The world celebrates those who conform, who fit into systems, who maintain the status quo. But heaven celebrates the ones who rise, even when it costs them everything. Just look at Moses, called to speak when he felt unqualified, or Esther, who risked her life to stand for truth, or Paul, who was once rejected by both the world and the religious elite, yet became a vessel for divine transformation. Like them, you felt the pressure of two worlds, the one that tells you to stay silent, and the one that calls you to speak truth. But here's what you need to know. Your resistance to conformity isn't rebellion, it's revelation. You've been given eyes to see what others overlook, a heart to feel what others numb, and a voice to carry what others are afraid to say. And that is not a burden, it is a mantle. When you were born, heaven did not assign you to follow the herd. It marked you to lead in love, to break barriers, to be a bridge for others who are still trapped in fear. Leadership, in its truest form, is service. It's vision. It's courage wrapped in compassion. And that is exactly what lives inside you. So if you've ever wondered why you feel out of step with the world around you, it's because you weren't meant to march to its rhythm. You were designed to set a new one. From the time you were young, your mind seemed wired differently. While others accepted the world as it was, you couldn't help but ask why. Why do we exist? What is our purpose? Who is God, really? These weren't just random thoughts. They were quiet invitations from heaven, placed deep within you. Your curiosity has always been more than intellectual. It's been spiritual. It tugged at you when you stared at the stars, when you read stories of miracles, or when you sat in silence and felt there had to be more. There's always been a hunger in you to understand the bigger picture, to find the deeper meaning behind things others take for granted. And that hunger? It's not a flaw. It's a flame, a sign that God has called you to search for what's hidden from plain sight. Proverbs 25:2 says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a matter. To search out a matter is the glory of kings." In other words, God hides truth like treasure, and those who are drawn to seek it are walking in royal purpose. Your need to question, explore, and understand has always been a compass, pointing you toward your divine calling. Others might have misunderstood your searching nature. Some may have dismissed you as too intense or too philosophical. But you were never asking shallow questions. You were reaching for something eternal. Think of Solomon, who didn't ask God for wealth or power, but for wisdom, and because of that, he was given more than he could have imagined. What if your questions are preparing you for that same kind of divine outpouring? You see, curiosity like yours is not common. It's a sign. A sign that God is drawing you closer, revealing layer by layer the purpose he planted within you long ago. So don't silence your wonder. Don't dull your hunger for truth. It's through that very desire that God will continue to lead you, not just to answers, but to the deeper revelation of who you truly are in him. And now, the truth has found you, maybe for the first time, or maybe as a gentle reminder of what your spirit has always known. You were never forgotten. You were chosen. Every moment of pain, every question that wouldn't go away, every time you felt different or out of place, it was all part of the preparation for something greater. Your story is not one of accident, but of intention. You have been protected, preserved, and awakened for a purpose far beyond what you can yet imagine. The signs have been there all along, guiding you, shaping you, calling you closer to the truth of who you really are. This is just the beginning of your journey back to your divine identity. A journey not walked alone, but alongside others who are awakening too. If this message has stirred something deep inside you, if it brought peace, clarity, or the sense that you've finally been seen, then I want to thank you. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for listening with your heart. If you feel called to walk this path with us, I warmly invite you to subscribe to this channel. Join a growing community of souls who, like you, are ready to rise into their calling. Your voice, your presence, your light, it matters here. And together, we'll continue to uncover the purpose, power, and promise that God has placed within each of us. Don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who may need this reminder today. You never know how your simple act of sharing could become the spark that ignites someone else's awakening. Until next time, stay grounded in truth, walk boldly in purpose, and may God's peace go with you always. What if I told you that everything is about to change? Not through coincidence or luck, but through divine design. That this very moment you're experiencing right now isn't random, it's sacred. You didn't arrive here by accident. You were summoned, handpicked by heaven. And if your spirit is awake enough to hear these words, then you already sense it. The shift, the stirring, the supernatural invitation pulling at the edge of your soul. This is not just another message. This is a divine revelation. It's the quiet before the breakthrough, the calm before the rising, the final call before everything in your life begins to align with the purpose you were born to fulfill. You are not like the rest. You've been marked, set apart, chosen. Even now, in realms beyond what the eye can see, something extraordinary is unfolding. The spiritual realm is shifting, and heaven is aligning people, places, and moments for your emergence. Soon, what's been hidden will be seen, and not just seen, but broadcast to the world, for all to witness. But understand this: only those with spiritual eyes will truly see. Only those attuned to heaven will grasp the weight of what's coming. The world may watch, but you will know. Because this isn't just change, it's destiny, and it begins now. There comes a sacred moment in every life when the noise fades, the chaos stills, and a deeper voice begins to speak, not to the ears, but to the soul. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand. It simply whispers, "This is your time." And if you're here, watching this now, understand, this is not a coincidence. This is a divine encounter. God has led you here because something inside you is beginning to awaken. You may not feel ready. You may still carry the bruises of your battles, the ache of waiting, the questions you never dared to speak aloud. But your brokenness does not disqualify you. It identifies you. The fire you've walked through wasn't to consume you, it was to forge you. You've been shaped in the silence, refined in the shadows, prepared for a purpose far greater than what you've imagined. This is the shift. Not just in your circumstances, but in your spirit. Heaven is moving. Destiny is aligning. The divine invitation has been extended, and it has your name on it. This isn't just about your breakthrough. It's about becoming a beacon for those still lost in the dark. So don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't look for outside validation. The call is here. The time is now. You are chosen, not someday, but today. And the world is waiting for your light to rise. This moment you're stepping into is not just personal. It's part of a divine movement that's sweeping across the earth. While your heart is awakening, so is the world. There's a shaking happening in the spirit, an invisible trembling of old systems crumbling and new voices rising. You've felt it. You've seen glimpses of it in world events, in leadership shifts, in the hunger for truth growing in hearts everywhere. This is more than just your breakthrough. It's the beginning of a global awakening. God is not only moving in your life, He is moving through nations, unlocking hidden destinies and calling His chosen ones into alignment. What's happening around you is not chaos, it's divine rearrangement. Heaven is positioning people, reshaping power structures, and preparing a generation to lead with courage and clarity. You are not being called to watch from the sidelines. You are being called to rise and take your place in this great unfolding. The world may not understand it, but your spirit knows. This is sacred. This is history in the making, and you have a role to play. It's God-sized, and it has already begun. For generations, ancient truths have been hidden, guarded, whispered, passed down through time, waiting for the right moment and the right hearts to receive them. That moment is now, and that heart is yours. Prophecies once locked away in mystery are beginning to surface, not as distant myths, but as divine confirmations echoing in your spirit. You may feel a strange familiarity with things you've never been taught, an inner knowing that resonates deeper than reason. That is the unveiling. The secrets of heaven are being revealed, not to confuse, but to awaken. These revelations are not meant for the masses, but for the chosen, those who can discern the difference between noise and truth. And you, chosen one, have been entrusted with eyes to see and ears to hear. The more you lean into God's presence, the more clearly these hidden truths will come alive in you. They are not just stories of the past. They are blueprints for your future. With every prophecy revealed, your path becomes clearer, your purpose sharper. This is not imagination. It's divine alignment. And it is your invitation to step into the sacred knowledge heaven has preserved just for you. The veil is lifting. Now it's your turn to see. Look closely, chosen one. The signs are everywhere. Beneath the chaos, beyond the noise, something sacred is stirring. The world may call it confusion, disorder, even disaster. But in the spirit, it is a shift, a holy disruption, a divine rearranging. God is moving, not only in the quiet places of your soul, but in the visible structures of the world. Sudden changes in leadership, unexpected global events, alliances that make no sense to the natural mind. These are not random. And while many will dismiss them as coincidence, you know better. You feel it in your spirit, a deep urgency, a sacred pull to pay attention. These moments are invitations from God, calling you to discern with spiritual eyes what the natural world cannot comprehend. They're not just signs for today. They're confirmations that you are living in a prophetic hour. So don't fear the storm. Read it. Don't resist the shaking. Recognize it. Heaven is speaking through it all, and you are being trained to interpret the language of divine movement. Stay awake, stay alert, and stay aligned. Because the shift is not coming. It is already here, and only the chosen will understand its true meaning. God was cultivating something in you that the world wasn't ready for, until now. This is not about fame or spotlight. It's about assignment. You are being positioned as a voice, a guide, a light for a generation searching for direction. You carry something sacred, something the world desperately needs. And though your journey has been quiet, the next chapter will be loud with purpose. Your voice will carry weight. Your presence will carry peace. Your obedience will unlock doors for others. This is the rise of the heralds, those called not to echo the world, but to declare the heartbeat of heaven. You don't need a platform. Your presence is the message. You don't need permission. God has already appointed you. Step forward with courage, knowing that every hidden moment was part of your preparation. The time of silence is over. Now the world will see what heaven always knew. You were chosen to lead, and your time has come. To be chosen is both an honor and a responsibility, a calling wrapped in mystery, marked by both glory and grit. Often it feels lonely. You've likely questioned, why me? Why the pain, the silence, the stretching? But here's the truth. The burden you've carried is proof of the beauty you're becoming. God doesn't call the strongest. He strengthens the called. The weight you felt is not punishment, it's preparation. Being chosen means you've been entrusted with something sacred, something not everyone can carry. It's why you feel things others don't, why your spirit aches deeper and your vision reaches further. You've been carved by fire, shaped in secret, and refined for impact. And yes, it's heavy at times. But it's also holy, because in your burden lies your authority, and in your breaking, your anointing was born. This isn't just about endurance, it's about transformation. You are not defined by what you've suffered, but by what you've survived with your faith intact. The weight you carry is heaven's evidence that you're trusted for more. And though few may see it now, the time is coming when the beauty of your calling will shine beyond the burden that built it. There's a shift happening, not just in you, but in the spirit realm across the entire earth. It's more than revival. It's a divine realignment. The atmosphere is changing. Hearts are awakening. People who once chased empty things are now hungering for truth. From remote villages to crowded cities, from whispered prayers to worldwide gatherings, a spiritual wave is rising, and it cannot be stopped. This isn't the work of men, it's the movement of God. New spiritual rhythms are being birthed, ancient truths are being reclaimed, and unity is beginning to replace division. The chosen ones are not just waking up, they're taking their place, becoming vessels of light in a world desperate for clarity. You are part of this shift, not a spectator, but a catalyst. As you align with God's voice, your life becomes a conduit of awakening to others. Your presence becomes prophetic. Your obedience becomes a spark. Across continents and cultures, the Spirit is stirring hearts and the cry is the same. There must be more. The world is shifting. Heaven is near. And the spiritual awakening sweeping the earth is not on its way. It's already here. And you are right in the center of it. The path you've been searching for doesn't lie in the opinions of others, nor in the noise of the world. It won't be found in a step-by-step plan, a predictable formula, or even the validation of those around you. The truth is, the map is already within you. Planted deep in your spirit by the hand of God, your direction has been written in sacred ink long before you ever took your first breath. Every detour, every delay, every closed door has not been a misstep. It's been part of the journey designed specifically for your growth, for your alignment, for your awakening. God does not lead the chosen with loud signs. He leads with whispers, with divine instincts, with sudden clarity that can't be explained, only felt. That gentle stirring in your heart? That is the compass. That quiet peace when everything around you says panic? That is the voice of the guide. You don't need to see the whole picture to move. You only need to trust the one who does. Don't compare your pace or your path to anyone else's. What God is doing in you is unique, intentional, and holy. Others may not understand it. That's okay. It wasn't revealed to them. It was revealed to you. As you walk in faith, the map will unfold step by step. And what once felt like uncertainty will begin to look like divine strategy. You were never lost. You were always being led. You don't need to chase direction or fear the unknown. Everything you need to fulfill your purpose is already inside of you, planted by heaven, watered by time, and now ready to grow. The map is within you. Trust it. Follow it. Live it. This is your moment. Not someday. Not when everything feels perfect. Now the time for delay, hesitation, and second-guessing is over. Heaven has sounded the alarm. This is your divine call to action. You were never meant to sit in the shadows, waiting for a sign to feel worthy enough, ready enough, or qualified enough. The truth is, if you've heard the call in your spirit, then you're already equipped to respond. God doesn't wait for perfection. He looks for willingness. And the world doesn't need more silent warriors. It needs you, bold, awakened, and obedient to the divine assignment on your life. The window of destiny is open now, and you are being summoned to walk through it with faith, not fear. The path may be uncertain. You may feel the trembling of your humanity, but greater still is the power of the Spirit rising within you. The world may not recognize the weight of this moment, but your soul does. You were created for such a time as this. No more shrinking. No more waiting for confirmation when heaven has already spoken. You are being called to build, to speak, to lead, to ignite. Don't wait for the world to validate what God has already confirmed. The stage is set. The shift is here. This is your time. So rise, move, act. Heaven is watching, and the earth is waiting. Timing. It's the thread that quietly weaves purpose into every moment of your life. Not always seen, not always understood, but always intentional. You may have wondered why things took so long, why the doors stayed closed, why the dreams felt delayed, why you were hidden when you longed to be seen. But heaven has never been late. What felt like a pause was actually preparation, and what seemed like silence was the sound of divine timing unfolding. God's timeline does not operate on the urgency of the world. His ways are layered in wisdom, beauty, and eternal vision. You haven't missed your moment. You've been preserved for it. Every tear, every detour, every unanswered question was part of a divine countdown leading you here. And now the season has shifted. The waiting is turning into walking. The wilderness is becoming a way. When you align with divine timing, you begin to see the masterpiece taking shape, one thread at a time. Suddenly, what once felt random begins to make sense. The delays reveal their purpose. The disappointments transform into direction. The divine reveals its rhythm. So trust this timing. Don't rush it. Don't resent it. Rest in it. Because God's timing is never just about when. It's about who you've become in the waiting. And now, you are ready. This isn't just a right time. It's your time. The moment heaven has been preparing you for is here. You've felt it in your soul. The stirring, the shifting, the sense that something bigger is unfolding. And now you know. It wasn't your imagination. It was your invitation. You are not here by chance. You have been called, refined, and prepared for this very moment. The rise of the chosen is no longer a prophecy on the horizon. It's happening now. And you are part of it. This is the hour to stand tall in who God created you to be. To walk in the authority of your assignment. To lead not with pride, but with purpose. The world is about to see the unveiling of what heaven has long known. You were made for such a time as this. Thank you for taking the time to walk through this message. If it resonated with you, if it stirred something deep within your spirit, then this space, this community, is for you. We're building more than content here. We're building a movement of light, of purpose, of chosen ones awakening to their divine call. If you haven't already, we invite you to subscribe to this channel. Join us on this journey of revelation, transformation, and rising into all God has destined you to become. Your time is now. Your voice matters. Welcome to the rise of the chosen. If you're watching this, it's not a coincidence. You were led here by something greater, by a feeling, a pull in your spirit, a restlessness you couldn't explain. You've likely sensed a shift around you, something unseen yet undeniable. The air feels heavier. Your dreams are more vivid. The people around you seem different. What if I told you this isn't paranoia, but perception? April 2025 is a turning point, a month when your spiritual senses will sharpen and your vision will no longer be limited to the physical world. This video is not just information. It is a call, an inner echo reminding you of who you truly are and why you're here. Your eyes, both physical and spiritual, will begin to receive messages from places you've long forgotten. The natural world, silent spaces, subtle glances, and invisible forces moving around you. This month will challenge your heart, confront your beliefs, and awaken your soul. You will see what others ignore. And once you see, you cannot unsee. Welcome to the awakening of vision. Welcome to April 2025. Not all eyes were created equal. While many look, only a few truly see. For those who are spiritually attuned, those often referred to as the chosen, vision transcends the boundaries of the physical world. Their eyes do more than capture light. They interpret energy, decode silence, and read the vibrations of a world most never notice. As April 2025 unfolds, this ability will not only intensify, it will awaken in ways that may be both startling and sacred. You may begin to perceive things you once brushed off as tricks of the light or coincidences. A shimmer in the corner of your vision, a fleeting shadow that vanishes before you can focus, a sudden brightness in someone's eyes that wasn't there before. These are not accidents. These are glimpses into the unseen, signals from the spiritual realm responding to the frequency rising within you. Your vision is being recalibrated, not just to observe the world, but to discern it. What others dismiss, you will feel deeply. Where others walk unaware, you will tread with intuition. You may notice emotional shifts in people before they speak, sense tension in a room before words are exchanged, or feel a powerful presence in moments of quiet solitude. This is the mark of a soul stepping into higher awareness, a soul no longer content with surface-level living. The challenge, however, is that such vision is not always easy to carry. To see through illusions means confronting truths that others avoid. You may find beauty where no one else sees it, but you will also recognize deception wrapped in smiles, heaviness masked as light, and spiritual warfare hidden in mundane moments. The world around you will not change overnight, but your relationship to it will. Being chosen to see differently is not about superiority. It is about responsibility. The responsibility to remain awake in a world lulled to sleep. The responsibility to trust what your eyes show you, even when it makes you uncomfortable. Because from now on, your sight is not just a function, it is a calling. And once your spiritual vision activates, you can no longer pretend to be blind. You were not meant to live in darkness. You were created to walk in the light and to recognize the divine, even when it's hidden in shadow. April is not merely the fourth month of the year. It is not just a passing point on a calendar or a routine season of transition. For those attuned to the spiritual, April 2025 is a portal, a sacred threshold between what was and what is becoming. It is a divine invitation to step out of old energies, outdated beliefs, and stagnant ways of being, and to walk into a realm of higher awareness, deeper truth, and inner transformation. This month holds the vibration of awakening, and with it, a subtle but undeniable pressure will begin to rise in your soul. A pressure not to fear, but to listen to. It is not chaos, but alignment. As the days of April unfold, you may sense that time feels different, slower in some moments, urgently fast in others. You may feel pulled in two directions, one that wants to cling to the comfort of the known, and another that urges you into unfamiliar, yet magnetic territory. This tension is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that you are standing at the edge of something greater. And the choice to cross that edge must come from within. This portal will not open with loud signs or dramatic spectacles. It will open quietly, through reflection, through stillness, through a series of subtle moments that stir your spirit. The nudge to take a different path, the sudden loss of interest in things that used to matter, the urge to clear space in your home, your heart, your relationships. These are not random urges. They are whispers from your higher self, asking you to make room for what is to come. And what is coming? Truth, clarity, realignment with your soul's purpose. But with truth comes the shedding of illusion, and with clarity often comes discomfort. You may be asked to release versions of yourself that no longer serve your becoming. You may be led to face aspects of your life you've kept hidden even from yourself. The portal of April does not open to everyone. It opens to those who are willing to walk through with open eyes, open hearts, and open hands. Because once you step through, there is no going back. But there is also no greater freedom than living in truth. Nature has never stopped speaking. It is we who forgot how to listen. In April 2025, that silence will break. The natural world, always alive and humming with divine intelligence, will become one of the clearest and most profound channels through which messages are delivered to the spiritually awakened. For those whose inner eyes are opening, trees, winds, birds, and even light itself will begin to speak a language beyond words, a language of symbols, sensations, and sacred synchronicity. You may find yourself drawn inexplicably to certain places in nature, a quiet tree that seems to offer peace, a patch of sunlight that feels like a blessing, a gust of wind that arrives in perfect harmony with your thoughts. These aren't coincidences. They are spiritual responses, confirmation that something beyond the visible is engaging with you, walking with you. Pay attention to these encounters. A bird landing nearby and locking eyes with you, a dog barking in the presence of someone you weren't sure about, or a sudden downpour as you wrestle with a decision. These are signs. They are not random events. They are part of the universe's language, gently nudging you toward clarity. The elements will become mirrors, revealing both what is within you and what surrounds you. The sky may show unusual colors or cloud formations that reflect your emotional state. Water might carry messages through dreams or a sudden longing to sit near a river or ocean. Even the silence in nature may feel full, as though it's whispering something only your spirit can hear. These moments, though easily dismissed by others, will feel deeply significant to you, because they are. To truly receive these signs, you must slow down. Be still. Observe without needing to explain. Not all truth comes through logic. Some of it arrives through feeling, through repetition, through resonance. If a particular animal keeps appearing in your path, look up its symbolic meaning. If the wind stirs just as you speak your fears aloud, pause and listen. April is a month where the veil thins, and the sacred speaks softly but steadily through creation. Let the earth become your sacred text. Let the wind be your prayer. Let the animals, the weather, the movement of leaves, all remind you that you are never alone, and that the universe is always, always speaking. As the spiritual energy intensifies in April 2025, the changes will not only stir within you, they will ripple through your relationships. This is one of the most profound and often most painful aspects of awakening. When your soul begins to vibrate at a higher frequency, not everyone around you will resonate with that shift. Some connections will deepen beautifully, while others will begin to dissolve, quietly or abruptly, as if a curtain has been drawn back, revealing truths that were always there but went unnoticed. You may begin to feel out of sync with people you once felt close to. Conversations that used to bring joy might now feel forced or draining. You might sense subtle tension, misalignment, or even discomfort around certain individuals. This is not your imagination. This is energy no longer matching. And though it may feel confusing or even heartbreaking, this natural separation is not a punishment. It is a form of spiritual protection. Relationships that were built on illusion, obligation, guilt, or outdated versions of yourself will begin to unravel. The masks people wear, whether consciously or unconsciously, will begin to fall. Their words may remain the same, but their energy will tell you everything. You'll start to notice the discrepancy between intention and action, between appearance and truth. And even if no harsh words are exchanged, something inside you will whisper, "This no longer belongs." Letting go is never easy, especially when it involves longtime friends, family, or partners. But clinging to what no longer aligns with your soul will only hold you back from stepping fully into who you are becoming. Some people were meant to walk with you only for a season, not forever. Honor what you shared, grieve if you must, but release with love. What you lose in comfort, you gain in authenticity. And here's the beauty of it. As the old falls away, space is created for something new, for connections that mirror your growth, that nourish your spirit, that challenge you to stay aligned and awake. Relationships rooted in truth, not performance, in shared frequency, not shared history. This is not the end of love. It is the beginning of real love, the kind that sees you, supports your path, and walks beside your becoming. In the stillness of April 2025, as the outer world shifts and relationships realign, an even more powerful transformation will begin within you. Your inner world, the sacred hidden terrain of thoughts, memories, and buried emotions, will rise to the surface, no longer content to remain in the shadows. This is not an attack. It is not regression. It is a divine invitation to meet the parts of yourself you've long ignored and to finally make peace with them. You may begin to feel waves of emotion with no clear origin: grief, fear, sadness, even anger from years past. Childhood memories may surface without warning. Dreams might become vivid, intense, or strangely symbolic. People you haven't thought about in years may reappear in your mind. Don't resist these moments. They are not here to haunt you. They're here to heal you. These fragments of your past are not interruptions. They are messages. They're pieces of yourself returning, asking to be seen, to be held, to be loved back into wholeness. Many of us are taught to avoid discomfort, to suppress pain, to move forward and never look back. But true transformation does not bypass the wound. It walks through it. The sadness you feel may not be a sign of weakness, but a sign that something sacred is being released. Emotional pain, when honored, becomes the doorway to deeper freedom. This inner unveiling may also show up in your body. You might experience tension in your chest or gut, headaches, changes in appetite or sleep. These are not random symptoms. They are physical echoes of emotional truths asking for attention. Your body in its wisdom is helping you purge what no longer serves. In this process, gentleness is your greatest ally. You are not required to fix everything at once. You are simply being asked to stay present. Breathe, reflect, write, cry if you need to. Allow yourself to feel what arises without judgment. Healing is not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you to hide. Within the quiet of this month, you will rediscover your strength. Not the strength of endurance, but the strength of vulnerability. And through this inner tending, you'll begin to see the parts of you once rejected were never broken. They were sacred all along. As April progresses, your energetic field, the invisible layer of your being that absorbs, processes, and transmits vibrations, will become more sensitive than ever. This heightened sensitivity is not a flaw. It is not fragility. It is the natural result of a soul that is awakening, refining, and tuning itself to a higher frequency. You are no longer walking through the world blindly. You are feeling it, reading it, responding to it with a depth of awareness that many have not yet touched. You may find yourself suddenly exhausted after social interactions, even with those you love. You might walk into a room and instantly feel heavy, uneasy, or out of place, without knowing why. Certain conversations may feel empty or overstimulating, even painful. Crowds may overwhelm you. Sounds might feel louder. Lights too bright. This is your energetic body alerting you. Something has changed. You are no longer able to tolerate environments, people, or patterns that drain your spirit. What you used to ignore or endure now feels unbearable, not because you've grown weaker, but because you've grown clearer. Your soul is rejecting what no longer serves it, and your body is responding with truth. Honor that response. This isn't a call to isolate, it's a call to listen. Solitude, quiet spaces, nature, deep breathing, meditation. These will become sacred tools, helping you reset and restore. Not because you are escaping, but because you are recalibrating. In a world that often rushes and numbs, your sensitivity is a sacred rebellion, a signal that you are moving in harmony with your inner truth. It's important to protect your energy now, not in fear, but with intention. Not everyone or everything is meant to walk with you in this season. That's not judgment, it's discernment. Begin to notice what expands you and what contracts you. Who leaves you feeling seen, and who leaves you feeling small. Where your energy flows freely, and where it withers. Your sensitivity is not a burden. It's a gift, a compass, a guidepost leading you back to what is real. Don't ignore it, don't push through. Respect it, Because the more you honor your energetic boundaries, the more clearly you'll hear the voice of your spirit, and the more peaceful and powerful your path will become. Though the path of awakening can feel isolating at times, you were never meant to walk it alone. As your inner world transforms and your vision sharpens, you may notice something quietly miraculous beginning to take shape. A new community, one not built on proximity, but on soul resonance, will start to form around you. This is not a community of convenience. It is a sacred gathering of like-hearted souls, drawn together by unseen threads of shared purpose, mutual recognition, and spiritual alignment. These people may enter your life in unexpected ways. A brief conversation with a stranger that leaves a lasting impact. A book recommendation that leads to an important connection. A name that keeps surfacing until you finally pay attention. You'll begin to notice synchronicities, gentle nudges from the universe guiding you into encounters that feel strangely familiar, as if you've known these individuals before, perhaps in another lifetime. And perhaps you have. This community will not be based on appearances, status, or social performance. It will be rooted in truth, energy, and inner knowing. You will feel it in your body, a sense of safety, of recognition, of peace. In their presence, you won't have to explain your journey, your visions, your sensitivity. They will simply understand, because they too have walked through fire to stand in light. These connections will uplift you, challenge you, and remind you that your path, while personal, is part of something far larger, a collective awakening. The loneliness you once felt will begin to fade, not because you've returned to the crowd, but because you've found your soul family. And within this sacred circle, you'll experience the power of shared intention, of spiritual collaboration, of hearts beating to the same quiet rhythm. Do not rush this formation. Let it happen naturally. Trust the timings, trust the intuitive pulls, trust the soft yes your spirit gives when you meet someone who feels like home. This new community will not replace your journey. It will strengthen it. Together you will hold space for one another. Together you will rise. Because in this new world we are entering, no one ascends alone. And as you step more fully into your truth, you will see the right people will arrive, not to complete you, but to remind you that you were never alone to begin with. April 2025 will not be easy, but nothing truly transformative ever is. This month is not meant to break you, but to remake you. Not to punish, but to purify. What your eyes begin to see, both in the world around you and deep within yourself, will stretch you, challenge you, and ultimately free you. This is the season where illusions fall away, where masks dissolve and where truth steps forward, raw and unfiltered. There may be endings, but with every ending comes sacred space for a new beginning, a new vision, a new alignment with who you were always meant to be. Beloved Chosen One, if you're listening to this message right now, take a deep breath and know this. It's not by accident. This moment was divinely orchestrated, a sacred appointment between your spirit and the voice of destiny. Something is awakening inside of you, a stirring you can't quite explain, and as your heart quickens and your spirit leans in, I invite you to receive this truth. You have been chosen by the Creator Himself, chosen for transformation, for renewal, and for a purpose greater than anything you've ever imagined. He is about to release into your life something so beautiful, so astonishing, that even your reflection in the mirror will be a sign and wonder. Prepare yourself, for you are stepping into a divine metamorphosis, a season of supernatural youth, healing, and radiance, a gift of God's eternal touch. Part 1. The divine shift has begun. When God turns His gaze upon you, when His divine hand rests gently yet powerfully upon your life, something profound begins to unfold like the first light of morning, breaking through a long and silent night. At first, the change is subtle, almost imperceptible. But soon, the world around you begins to sense it. There's a shift in your stride, a strength that wasn't there before. Your eyes reflect something deeper without uttering a word. Your very presence begins to stir the atmosphere around you. This is not imagination. This is not a coincidence. This is the undeniable mark of someone touched by heaven. God's transformation does not stop at the soul. It flows like a river from your spirit into your thoughts, your emotions, your very body. What once clung to you, weariness, sorrow, fear, begins to fall away like dust shaken from your feet. The tiredness that once settled in your bones is replaced by divine vitality. The heaviness in your heart is lifted by the breath of the Holy Spirit, and in its place, a lightness enters, full of beauty, purpose, and sacred energy. You begin to feel alive in ways you had long forgotten. But make no mistake, this is not about vanity. It's about victory. Victory over the slow erosion of hope, over despair that once whispered lies to your soul. Victory over the limitations others placed upon you and the ones you unknowingly placed upon yourself. This transformation is holy. It is heaven's way of saying, you are not who you used to be. You are being made new. From spirit to skin, renewal touches every part of you. It doesn't just lift your spirit, it awakens it. It doesn't just refresh your body, it resurrects it. The Holy Spirit is not simply improving you, He is redefining you. And as this divine shift takes root, the reflection you see in the mirror will no longer just show a face, it will reveal a testimony. A living, breathing, radiant example of what it looks like when God steps into a life and says, "Now, let there be light." Part 2. The eternal youth of the chosen. The renewal that God is bringing into your life is not simply about appearing younger. It is about being realigned with the eternal design He wove into your very being from the beginning. You were never meant to merely exist or survive. You were created to shine, to reflect the very essence of His beauty, His radiance, and His glory in a way that only you can. And now, that divine light is awakening within your body, as if heaven itself is breathing life into every cell. The changes may begin quietly, but they are unmistakably sacred. Your skin begins to carry a glow no serum could create, a softness kissed by grace, a light that seems to come from somewhere beyond this world. Your back straightens, not merely from better posture, but from a divine sense of confidence. Your laughter becomes more free, your smile more effortless, touched by joy that is not fleeting but anchored in eternity. This is not a surface-level transformation. This is not a human-made makeover. This is the touch of the Creator restoring what time and trials tried to steal from you. Your very cells seem to respond to His voice, aligning with the rhythm of heaven, and your spirit, once weary, now rises in resurrection power, lifting your entire being into newness. You are becoming more than changed. You are becoming renewed, reawakened, reborn into the beauty and strength that was always yours through Christ. You are a walking miracle, a living, breathing testimony of divine restoration. Where the world sees age and decline, God speaks of revival. Where others see limits, He whispers, "Watch what I can do." This is the fulfillment of His promise in Joel 2:25. I will restore the years the locusts have eaten. And that restoration is not only emotional or spiritual, it is tangible. It is radiant. And as you walk in this eternal youth, know this: you are not going backward. You are moving forward into a divine version of yourself that time cannot touch and no man can replicate. Part 3. What the world will see. Make no mistake, when God transforms you, the change is impossible to hide. It will be a holy echo that resonates wherever you go. People around you will begin to take notice. They'll glance twice. They'll ask questions, curious, intrigued, even baffled. What's different about you? Some might assume it's a new routine, a better diet, a different skincare regimen. They'll search for a worldly explanation to make sense of something that is completely divine. But deep down, you will know the truth. You've had an encounter with the living God, and that encounter has redefined your very essence. This isn't a glow that can be bought, or a light that can be faked. It is the radiance of heaven shining through a vessel made willing. There will be a brightness in your eyes, a peace in your expression, and a clarity in your voice that commands respect, not through force, but through quiet authority. You won't have to announce your transformation. It will speak for itself. This is not about drawing attention to yourself or seeking validation from others. It's about becoming a reflection of the one who chose you. The glow they see? It's not just light. It's the evidence of His Spirit alive within you. It's the shine of grace, the fire of purpose, and the whisper of eternity woven into your daily walk. And yes, some may misunderstand. Some may resist what they cannot explain. But no one will be able to deny it. You are becoming a sign and a wonder, a walking revelation of divine craftsmanship, of a life rewritten by grace. And wherever you go, the world will see heaven's fingerprints on you. Part 4. Letting go to step into new life. Every divine transformation demands a release, a sacred shedding of the old to make room for what is new, holy, and destined. Just as a butterfly cannot take flight while clinging to the confines of its cocoon, you too must release the versions of yourself that no longer serve the brilliance of your divine identity. This is not just about letting go of habits. It's about surrendering patterns of thought, worn-out beliefs, and connections that have weighed down your wings. The toxic relationships that drained your spirit, the doubt that whispered you were never enough, the weariness that settled into your bones like winter, all of it must be laid at the feet of the one who is making you new. What God is building within you cannot exist alongside the limitations of your past. His glory will not be shared with anything that dims your light. This is your pruning season, not to punish, but to prepare. And yes, it may feel like a loss at first, but in truth, it is divine realignment. God is not taking from you. He is clearing space within you for something far greater. He is severing the ties that no longer carry your purpose. He is gently, lovingly, removing what cannot thrive in your next chapter. In its place, He is planting seeds of holy possibility, relationships that honor your soul, opportunities that align with your calling, and strength that flows not from striving, but from grace. Letting go in this season is not a sign of weakness. It is a bold act of faith. Faith that what God is preparing exceeds anything you could imagine. Faith that the loss is not loss at all, but transformation in disguise. Faith that the hands of the gardener know what must be trimmed to make you flourish. So don't cling to what was. Instead, open your hands, open your heart, and trust that what lies ahead is far more beautiful than anything you leave behind. Part 5. Embracing the new you. As you continue walking through this sacred transformation, you are not becoming someone else. You are becoming you, the you God designed before the foundations of the earth. It's a beautiful unveiling, not a reinvention. Layer by layer, He is stripping away everything that was never meant to define you. And in this divine revealing, long-buried dreams begin to stir again. Passions you once silenced come back to life, now burning brighter than before. You start to remember the visions you thought were lost to time. And in the mirror, you finally see someone you recognize, not just by features, but by purpose. And you whisper with awe, "Yes, that's me. That's who God created." With this rediscovery comes a new kind of confidence, one not born of ego, but of sacred identity. It's not about walking taller to be seen, it's about walking truer because you finally know who you are. This is the quiet boldness of someone who understands they are God's handiwork, His masterpiece, His chosen one. You begin to move through the world differently. Your words carry more weight, not because they're louder, but because they're anchored in truth. Even your silence holds power because your very presence speaks of healing, wholeness, and heaven's touch. Everything about you begins to declare, without apology or hesitation, "I am loved. I am called. I am new." And the world around you will feel it, even if they can't explain it. Because when you walk in alignment with the identity God has placed within you, you don't just live, you radiate. You become a reflection of divine possibility. And the more you embrace who you truly are in Christ, the more unstoppable, unshakable, and undeniably radiant you become. Part 6. Resistance, Refinement, and Rising Higher. As the transformation within you deepens, not everyone will understand the changes they see. Some will question it, unable to reconcile the person you are becoming with the version of you they once knew. Others may quietly pull away, unsettled by the light you now carry, a light that challenges their comfort zones. They were familiar with the older version of you, the one who dimmed your shine to fit in, who carried your brilliance in silence. But now, as you rise into your God-given identity, that familiar version fades, and with it, the attachments that were never meant to last. And though this can feel painful, like relational tides shifting without warning, it is not rejection, it is refinement. God is using this season to reveal who is truly aligned with your divine journey. He is allowing your transformation to be the mirror that reflects hearts and motives, exposing what can no longer walk beside you. This is not a punishment, it is a gift. For in shedding what no longer fits, you create space for what is sacred, divinely appointed relationships that see you not only for who you were, but for who you are becoming. These are the ones who recognize your growth and celebrate it. They water your dreams, honor your healing, and speak life into your calling. And as you continue to rise, you'll gain more than just a new community, you'll gain clarity. Not only about who is for you, but about who you truly are. You begin to see with spiritual eyes, realizing that resistance is not always opposition. It's often confirmation that you are walking the right path. The brighter your light, the more it exposes. But don't fear it. Embrace it. Because this clarity, though born from discomfort, is the soil in which your next level will flourish. You are not losing people, you are gaining perspective. And what awaits you ahead is far greater than what's been left behind. Part 7. Walking in God's Purpose. The transformation that God is working in your life was never meant to stop at outward beauty. It is far deeper, far more sacred. It is about divine alignment. Every change you feel, every shift you sense, is part of a holy realignment. God is bringing your body, your spirit, your relationships, and your dreams into harmony with the divine path He has already prepared for you. He is not simply polishing you, He is positioning you. That's why doors are opening that you never knocked on, and people are being removed or introduced with such divine precision. It's not random. It's not chaos. It's purpose. What feels like surprise to you is a strategy to Him. God is leading you into spaces you never expected to enter, into rooms where your name is spoken with honor, into conversations you never planned but deeply needed, and into opportunities that once seemed distant or even impossible. And yet, in your spirit, there's a quiet knowing. This is where I'm meant to be. God has been orchestrating every step, every delay, every detour to bring you into perfect alignment with your calling. This is the beauty of walking in God's purpose. It's not always predictable, but it is always intentional. Every encounter has meaning. Every redirection has mercy behind it. And as you surrender to His movement, you'll notice your entire life beginning to flow with greater ease. Decisions feel clearer. Timing feels divine. That's because when you walk in step with heaven, even the hard things begin to make sense. Even the closed doors feel like blessings in disguise. God is writing a story through your life, and it's a story of redemption, beauty, and power. You are not being transformed for appearance's sake. You are being prepared to carry His glory in a way that changes lives. He is aligning every part of you to fulfill a promise spoken over you long ago. And now, as you walk in His purpose, you are walking into the fulfillment of that promise, one step at a time, guided by His hand, anchored in His love. Part 8. Becoming a Living Testimony. As you continue to walk this sacred, Spirit-led path, something extraordinary will become a catalyst for transformation in others. The change God is bringing into your life is not only for your benefit, it is a testimony in motion, a living message that others will read before they ever open a Bible. When people see the glow on your face, the peace in your heart, and the strength in your step, they'll pause, they'll wonder, and in that moment of awe, their hearts will whisper a quiet hope. If God could do that for them, maybe He can do it for me too. You may never know the full impact of your transformation, but heaven will, because your life will speak louder than any sermon. You'll carry God's message without needing a stage. Your very presence will preach resurrection. The radiance in your eyes will testify to healing. The joy that flows from your spirit, effortless, anchored, and unshakable, will be proof of divine intervention. You won't have to convince people with words. The fruit of your transformation will speak for itself. It will whisper to the broken. It will shout to the weary. It will call the doubting back to faith. And this transformation won't be a one-time moment. It will be a continuous unfolding. You'll go from youth to strength, from sorrow to deep, abiding peace. The confusion that once clouded your mind will be replaced by clarity rooted in divine wisdom. It will be layer upon layer of glory, revealing more and more of God's goodness with every step you take. Each chapter of your journey will declare something new, that He restores what was lost, that He brings beauty out of ashes, that He renews strength like the eagle. So now, chosen one, as you stand at the edge of this divine transformation, don't look back. Don't question what God is doing. Step forward, eyes lifted, heart open. The Creator of heaven and earth has looked upon you and said, "You are mine, and I am making all things new." This is your moment. This is your time. You are not just living. You are glowing. You are rising. You are walking in miracles, from the inside out, from glory to glory, from ordinary to extraordinary. You were never meant to blend in. You were made to shine. And now, you will. If this message resonated with your spirit, we invite you to leave the number 77 in the comments. It's a number of divine alignment, completion, and purpose. Let it be your yes to the transformation God is stirring within you. If you'd like to support us in creating more messages like this, consider clicking the subscribe button. Every kind gesture fuels our passion to serve this beautiful chosen community. Until next time, stay radiant, stay faithful, and never forget, you are chosen. There are moments in life when something extraordinary happens, something beyond our comprehension. You might not realize it, but your mere existence has the power to disrupt the very foundation of the world as it is known. Those around you, once comfortable in their certainty, now face a jarring reality they cannot ignore. Your presence, the way you live, the words you speak, has sent shockwaves into systems built on secrecy, lies, and control. The time has come for the truth to rise and shine in a way the world has never seen. What is happening is not just a coincidence. This is divine orchestration. As one of God's chosen ones, you carry a light, a frequency that cannot be ignored, even by those who have been deeply embedded in a world of deception. You were never meant to see beyond the veil, but somehow you did. And in doing so, you've become an unwitting catalyst for a powerful awakening, one that will shake the very core of the agents entrenched in the system's falsehoods. For years, the agent lived a life dictated by duty, structure, and loyalty to a system that promised protection and order. As a high-ranking figure in the world of secrecy and surveillance, they were trained to trust the system, to believe in the infallibility of their superiors, to follow commands without question, and to guard information with unyielding devotion. This was the reality they had been shaped to accept, a world where everything had a purpose, where every mission was justified, and where every classified document remained locked away for the greater good. To them, the system was not only logical, but essential, the very foundation of a world that required control and structure to function properly. Their training had been rigorous, their understanding of the world finely tuned to follow a strict code of conduct. They had learned to recognize the subtle manipulations of others, to detect lies before they were spoken, and to function within a web of secrecy so vast it was impossible to see the edges. Every action, every decision was based on years of careful conditioning. To question the system, to doubt its purpose, was inconceivable. They had come to trust the rules they had followed, convinced that without them, chaos would reign. The belief that they were part of something greater, something necessary, gave them a sense of purpose and security. The agent saw their role as one of unwavering commitment to the higher cause. No room for uncertainty, no room for doubt. But everything began to shift the moment their path crossed with yours. At first, they dismissed you as just another voice among countless others. A seemingly insignificant individual in a sea of opinions, a small ripple in an ocean of noise. You were just another truth seeker, another person claiming to see beyond the veil of everyday existence, but offering nothing concrete. Yet, something in your presence unsettled them in a way they couldn't explain. It wasn't your words that first caught their attention. It was the way you spoke, the way you hinted at truths that should not have been known. The casual mention of events erased from public memory, or the knowledge of people whose existence should have been impossible to trace, disturbed something deep inside them. It wasn't long before this quiet disturbance grew into a more insistent question, one they had never before dared to ask themselves. What if I've been wrong? The thought, though small at first, lodged itself in their mind like a splinter. Unwelcome, but impossible to ignore. They had lived their entire life under the assumption that the world they served was just and unassailable. Yet the pieces of your words began to shift something in their perception. For the first time, they were forced to confront the possibility that everything they had believed, everything they had been conditioned to trust, could be a lie. This realization didn't come all at once. It was subtle, creeping into their thoughts when they least expected it. But with each new encounter, each new piece of information you shared, the veil of certainty that had once shielded their mind began to tear. And as it did, the agent's world was forever changed. The moment of doubt was undeniable, a pivotal shift in the agent's world. Until now, their beliefs had been rock solid, immovable like the walls of a fortress they had spent years building. These walls were reinforced by training, discipline, and an unwavering trust in the system they served. For them, the world was black and white, clear-cut, and predictable. Every order had a purpose, every mission was justified, and every piece of classified information was locked away for a reason. There was no room for uncertainty, no space for questions. But now, as the doubt began to creep in, it cracked those walls open, allowing a single question to echo louder than anything they had ever known. Could this all be a lie? It was a question they had never allowed themselves to entertain, not in their years of service. But as their certainty began to crumble, so did their reliance on the very system they had pledged to protect. The foundation of their beliefs shook with a force that was impossible to ignore. For the first time, they realized that the world they had trusted, the world they had believed to be infallible, might not be what it seemed. The agent, now consumed with doubt, did what they knew best. They investigated. It was in their nature to search for the truth, to analyze, to uncover the facts that lay hidden in the shadows. They delved into classified documents, scoured reports, and cross-referenced every detail, determined to find evidence that would prove you wrong, to find the flaw that would expose you as a fraud. But what they uncovered instead sent shockwaves through their entire being. The carefully constructed narrative they had followed for years began to unravel before their eyes. The truths you spoke, truths that had once seemed disconnected, fragmented, slowly began to piece themselves together. The agent, once sure of everything, now stood face to face with the undeniable reality. They had been deceived. What had seemed like isolated incidents, what they had dismissed as mere speculation, now revealed themselves as part of a vast hidden network of control, manipulation, and deceit. The lies they had been fed for so long were no longer just theories. They were undeniable facts. The system they had dedicated their life to was not built on the pursuit of justice or truth, but on maintaining a carefully orchestrated illusion. It was not a single conspiracy. It was an entire structure, woven into the very fabric of their world, designed to conceal the truth from those entrusted with protecting it. The agents' belief in the righteousness of their mission shattered as the truth began to dawn on them. They had been a pawn in a game far greater and darker than they could have ever imagined. This revelation did not come all at once. It was gradual, like a slow burn that intensified with every discovery, every hidden truth uncovered. But now the agent could no longer deny what was happening. They had crossed a line and there was no going back. The truth had revealed itself, and with it came the realization that everything they had known had been a lie. The agent, trained meticulously to detect deception and sift through layers of lies, had now stumbled upon a truth so profound, so undeniable, that it shattered the very lens through which they had viewed the world. Up until this moment, their understanding of reality had been clear-cut and structured, truths that were easy to grasp, facts that could be verified with precision. But now, as they looked deeper into the system they had once served, a terrifying realization dawned. The world was not as they had been taught to believe. It was corrupt, controlled, and manipulated from the highest levels, and the truths they had trusted were nothing but carefully constructed facades. What had once seemed like the natural order, their role in protecting the world, upholding the system's ideals, now felt like a cruel illusion. The truth had always been there, hidden in plain sight, but it was obscured by the complexity of the system that surrounded them. It was a labyrinth of lies, each turn leading further into deception, keeping them blind to the true forces at play. The distractions, the carefully woven narratives designed to mislead, had kept them from seeing what was right in front of their eyes. But now, as the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, the agent could no longer deny the staggering reality. They had been part of something far darker than they had ever imagined. This moment of revelation, this dramatic shift in perception, was not unlike the experience of the prophet Elisha's servant in 2 Kings 6:17. When the servant was terrified to see their city surrounded by an enemy army, Elisha prayed that his eyes would be opened, and suddenly, the servant's vision expanded. He saw what had been invisible to him moments before, the mountains filled with chariots of fire, the spiritual forces that surrounded them, ready to protect them. In that instant, the servant's understanding of reality was transformed. What he had thought was a hopeless situation was, in fact, a divine protection in the unseen realm. For the agent, their moment of awakening mirrored that of Elisha's servant. For years, they had operated within a system that appeared to be all-powerful, a fortress of control and order. But now, like the servant who saw the spiritual forces surrounding them, the agent's eyes were open to a truth that had always been there, hidden beneath layers of secrecy and manipulation. The reality they once trusted was no longer enough to hold them. The walls of certainty that had protected them for so long began to crumble, and they were forced to confront the overwhelming truth. The forces they had trusted and fought for were not working for justice, but to maintain control. This moment was both terrifying and liberating, a moment when everything the agent had known fell apart, and they were left to face a new, unfiltered reality. The scales had fallen from their eyes, and there was no going back. The truth had been revealed, and now the agent understood. They had been part of something much bigger than they could have ever imagined, and their path forward would no longer be defined by the lies they had once believed. This journey was no longer about uncovering corruption or exposing a criminal network. It was no longer confined to the physical realm of politics, power, or control. The agent, as they began to see beyond the veil of their previous beliefs, realized something far more profound was at play. This was a spiritual battle, a war between light and darkness, between truth and lies. The truths you had spoken were not merely about the systems of deception they had once served, but about something far deeper, something divine in nature. They were being forced to confront not just the corruption of the world, but the fundamental battle for the souls of mankind. For years, The agent had thought of their work as a logical, rational task, exposing and dismantling physical threats. But now, they saw the true nature of their mission. It was a struggle that extended beyond the human realm. It was a war waged in the unseen realms, a spiritual warfare that transcended the material world they had been taught to trust. They began to understand that the forces they had been fighting for, those systems of control, secrecy, and manipulation, were part of something darker, something that had been manipulating truth for centuries. What had appeared as a clear-cut duty was, in fact, a much larger and more complex spiritual warfare. This awakening was not unlike the transformation of Saul on the road to Damascus, a story that is deeply embedded in the foundations of faith. Saul, a man once deeply entrenched in his own righteousness, was convinced that his persecution of those who threatened his worldview was justified. He believed that his actions were for the greater good, that his understanding of the world was unassailable. But in a moment of divine intervention, a blinding light struck him down, and Saul found himself face to face with the truth he had rejected for so long. He could no longer deny the reality that had been hidden from him. This moment of spiritual awakening, his literal blindness followed by a revelation that shattered his entire belief system, became the catalyst for his transformation into Paul, one of the most influential figures in history. The agent, much like Saul, was now standing at the crossroads of a similar awakening. The foundation of everything they had believed in was crumbling, and in its place a new understanding was emerging, one that was not rooted in worldly wisdom, but in divine revelation. What had once seemed like an impenetrable truth was now revealed as a lie, and what had appeared as the natural order was now exposed as a carefully orchestrated deception. The agent was being stripped of their former understanding of reality, and in its place, they began to see a new world, a world governed not by the systems they had sworn allegiance to, but by forces that transcended human power. This was no longer just about fighting an external enemy. The agent was engaged in a battle for their very soul, a battle between the forces of darkness that had clouded their vision and the light of truth that was now beginning to guide them. As Saul's encounter with the divine light transformed him into Paul, the agent's journey of awakening was leading them toward a greater understanding, a deeper connection to the divine truth that had been concealed for so long. As the agent continued to dig deeper into the tangled web of deception, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The truth that had eluded them for so long was now painfully clear. You were no mere outsider. At first, the agent had dismissed you as just another voice in the wilderness, a whistleblower or perhaps a conspiracy theorist, someone who spoke of things beyond their grasp. But now, with each layer of truth they uncovered, it became increasingly evident. You were something far greater. You were not an accidental disruptor, nor a mere anomaly in their world. You were a divine messenger, sent not by chance, but as part of a much grander, divine plan. In that moment, the agent's perspective shifted. What they had once viewed as a disruptive force, something that didn't fit within the neat structure they had always known, was now revealed as a crucial part of a higher calling. Just as Joseph had been chosen to interpret Pharaoh's dreams and reveal hidden truths that would alter the course of history, so too had you been chosen to uncover a truth so powerful it would shake the very foundation of the world they thought they understood. Joseph's story in the Bible speaks of a man who, despite his circumstances and betrayal, was chosen to reveal a truth that saved nations. His ability to interpret dreams was not just a gift, it was a divine calling that set the stage for the fulfillment of God's plan. In a similar vein, your purpose was not accidental, it was predestined. You were not simply exposing secrets or stirring the pot with idle gossip. You were sent to shatter the illusions that had held the powerful in their grasp for centuries, to awaken minds that had long been asleep to the reality of the world. The agent now saw you through a new lens. What once seemed like an inconvenient truth was, in fact, a divine intervention meant to illuminate what had been hidden in the shadows. You were a disruptor of the highest order, one who had been sent to break through the fortress of lies that protected the powerful. But more importantly, you were a catalyst for awakening. Your presence alone had forced the agent to confront the unspoken truths they had once ignored. Now, they understood that you had been strategically placed in their path to reveal the deeper reality, a reality beyond the control of the systems they had once trusted. You were not there to simply expose flaws or weaknesses. You were there to awaken the slumbering minds within the system, those who had been bound by years of false teachings, manipulation, and lies. And as the agent stood at the precipice of this realization, they could no longer deny the truth. You were the chosen one, the messenger sent to awaken the truth in them all. Your mission was not just one of exposure, but of divine revelation, meant to shatter the illusions and illuminate the path for all who were ready to see. The agent, once a loyal servant of the system, now stood at the edge of a profound transformation. Their once unwavering faith in the system that had shaped their life was irrevocably shattered. No longer could they blindly accept the structures that had guided their every action, nor could they ignore the truth that had been laid bare before them. The loyalty, duty, and control they had long upheld as the pillars of their existence now seemed like mere facades, carefully constructed illusions meant to obscure the deeper reality. The agent had seen the truth, and in doing so, they were forever changed. In the wake of this revelation, the agents found themselves at a crossroads. The world they had known, the mission they had served, was no longer a clear path. They had been trained to trust in the system's righteousness, to believe in the orders they followed, and to protect the structures that governed society. But now, the very foundation of those beliefs has crumbled. The truth, the one they had tried to ignore, had forced them to confront something they were not prepared for. The undeniable fact that they had been a part of something far darker than they had ever imagined. The weight of this newfound knowledge pressed heavily upon them. They could no longer turn away from it. The question that now loomed over the agent was a simple yet profound one. What would they do next? Would they continue to serve the very system they had uncovered as corrupt, knowing the lies and manipulations that propped it up? Or would they break free from the chains of their past, choosing a new path aligned with the truth they had discovered? This decision was not an easy one. The agent had spent years living by the code of duty and loyalty. They had sacrificed much to uphold that code. But now, standing on the precipice of a new reality, they understood that to remain silent, to continue serving a broken system, would be to betray everything they had come to know as true. To walk away, however, meant abandoning the life they had known and stepping into the unknown, a life that required courage, vulnerability, and an unwavering commitment to the truth. The path forward was unclear, but it was the only path that aligned with the truth the agent had uncovered. There would be no turning back. What had once seemed like a duty had now become a moral imperative to walk in the light, to leave behind the deception, and to serve a greater purpose, one rooted in honesty, integrity, and divine revelation. The agent now had a choice to make, and though the road ahead was uncertain, they knew they could no longer walk in the shadows. The time had come to step forward, to embrace the truth, and to find a new path that reflected the change that had taken place within them. And you, as one of God's chosen ones, have already made a profound impact. You have shattered the programming that sought to control and deceive. Your words, your actions, and your very presence have shaken the foundations of the enemy's strongholds. You are a beacon of light in a world shrouded in darkness, and your influence will only grow as you continue to speak the truth. The world will resist, and the enemies of truth will attempt to silence you. But remember this: what God has ordained, no man can overturn. The truth is unstoppable, and with it you will rise, unshaken and unbowed, until every lie has been exposed and divine justice is fully realized. That is more than enough. Like this message. Comment below. Subscribe so you don't miss any future revelations. And most importantly, step into your divine calling. May God bless you richly. There comes a moment in life, sometimes sudden, sometimes subtle, when something inside you stirs. A whisper, A flicker. A strange clarity that breaks through the chaos, telling you, you were never ordinary. You were never meant to sleep. This moment, right here, is not an accident. It's alignment, a calling. You are not watching this by chance. You were guided here. Because you're one of them, one of the chosen. But the world never wanted you to realize that. They tried to drown you in doubt, covered your brilliance in confusion, kept you distracted, disconnected. And now, they're terrified. Because you're remembering. And once the chosen remember, everything that tried to control them, fear them, erase them, starts to collapse. This isn't just a message. This is your activation. From the very beginning, you may have felt like life placed unusual weight on your shoulders, like every step forward stirred resistance, like every glimmer of peace was quickly followed by conflict. But what you've faced hasn't been random or personal in the way you once thought. They weren't fighting you. They were fighting what chose you. See, you were never just a name, a face, a person minding their own business. You were a vessel, marked by something ancient, something eternal, something that could not be manipulated or owned. Long before you knew who you were, they did. They recognized your frequency, your divine imprint, and that terrified them. Because your presence doesn't just speak, it vibrates. Your energy doesn't blend in, it exposes. You don't follow the patterns, you break them. And so they did everything in their power to disconnect you from your source. They tried to bury your identity beneath doubt, drown your voice beneath noise, and derail your purpose with endless distraction. Not because of your appearance, not because of your past, but because of what lives within you. Something they could never recreate. The light in your spirit, the truth in your words, the force in your silence. It threatened the illusions they built to maintain control. You were born into a world that fears the awakened, because the awakened do not conform, they do not submit, and more dangerously, they ignite others. That's what they feared most. Not just your awakening, but the ripple effect it would cause. The pressure you felt wasn't punishment, it was proof. The resistance you encountered wasn't rejection, it was recognition. Every attack on your soul was a desperate attempt to stop something they could never touch. Because when the universe chooses someone, it doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for credentials. It simply says, you. And that choice alone shatters systems. They didn't want to erase you. They wanted to erase the echo of something greater moving through you. But what they failed to realize is that the same pressure they used to try to break you only refined you. What they saw as a threat was actually a prophecy. And now that you're starting to remember, they're the ones who should be afraid. The greatest weapon they ever used against you wasn't force, and it wasn't fear. It was doubt. Not the loud kind that crashes in like thunder, but the quiet, creeping kind that whispers from within. They didn't have to cage your body or silence your voice outright. All they had to do was convince you to doubt yourself. Slowly, subtly, skillfully. Every time you felt deeply, they called you too sensitive. Every time you spoke truth, they labeled you too intense. They wrapped your intuition in shame and painted your light as a threat. Why? Because they knew from the very beginning what you didn't yet realize. You were powerful. So powerful, in fact, that they had to trick you into dimming your own brilliance. You see, they couldn't extinguish your fire, so they handed you the extinguisher and made you believe it was necessary. They taught you to second-guess your instincts, to shrink in rooms that couldn't hold your spirit, to apologize for the very energy that made you divine. And while you wrestled with your worth, they watched silently, because for them, every moment you questioned your own light was a victory. They didn't celebrate publicly. No, it was quieter than that. The kind of triumph that happens when a soul forgets its own shine. But the truth is, you were never too much. You were exactly enough to shake their foundation. Your fire made them uncomfortable not because it was wrong, but because it revealed their shadows. Your depth wasn't a defect. It was a mirror they couldn't stand to look into. And every time you held back to make others comfortable, you gave them room to breathe. That was their only power over you, convincing you to reject what made you rare. But what they didn't count on was that one day you'd begin to remember that the voice inside you, the one they tried so hard to drown, would start to rise again. That you'd begin to see through the lies, the programming, the labels. And when a chosen one remembers their light, the illusion breaks. That's what's happening now. The fog is lifting. The weapon of doubt is losing its grip. And the moment you reclaim your light, unapologetically, fully, fiercely, they'll have nothing left to hold over you. Because your belief in yourself was always the key, and now you're taking it back. There was a time you believed that being alone meant you were broken, that the silence was punishment, that the distance from others was a sign that you didn't belong. But what you thought was rejection was never that. The universe wasn't pushing you away. It was tuning you in. See, when you're chosen, you're not built for the noise of the crowd or the comfort of blending in. You're not here to echo back the world's fears. You're here to speak with a voice that only silence could shape. That's why it felt like everyone left. That's why you walked through seasons of emptiness, wondering if you had done something wrong, questioning your worth when no one seemed to understand you. But in truth, the crowd was never your destination. It was your distraction. And so the universe, in its wisdom, stripped it all away. The friendships, the noise, the applause, the chaos, it all had to go. Not to hurt you, but to reveal you. Because only in stillness could your true frequency emerge. Only in solitude could your spirit remember its signal. You weren't being punished. You were being protected from interference. The world is loud, saturated with projections, expectations, and voices that don't belong to you. And if you had stayed in that noise, you would have become an echo instead of a signal. So the universe cleared the room. The silence felt sharp, the loneliness unbearable at times. But what you didn't know then is that the solitude was sacred. It was the chamber where you were rebuilt, not with external validation, but with internal knowing. It was in that void that you grew roots, that your energy became unshakable, that your vision became clear. The people who left weren't meant to recognize you because they were never tuned to your frequency. You weren't too much. You were simply vibrating at a level they couldn't understand. And rather than rise, they retreated. But that retreat was necessary. Because you weren't being pushed out. You were being pulled up. So stop mourning what walked away. Stop questioning the silence. Your isolation wasn't abandonment. It was activation. You were being aligned, refined, and prepared. And now, you're returning, not empty, not lost, but fully charged. And this time, you're not looking for where you fit in. You're stepping in to command the space you were always meant to occupy. If there's one thing they feared most, it wasn't your strength, your voice, or even your brilliance. It was your focus. Because a focused chosen one is a force of nature, a living storm that can't be stopped. And they knew that the moment you aligned your energy, your clarity would burn through every illusion they built. So they launched a silent war, not on your body, but on your attention. They didn't need to destroy you. They only needed to keep you distracted. That's why every time you found stillness, something would crash in. Drama, chaos, confusion. People you'd outgrown resurfaced. Old wounds reopened. New problems appeared out of nowhere, not because you were unlucky, but because you were dangerous. They buried you in noise, not to defeat you, but to exhaust you. Because when you're busy putting out fires, you can't build the future you were sent to create. They threw emotional roller coasters into your path. They filled your days with fake urgencies, empty obligations, and people who drained you, hoping you'd stay in a loop of reaction instead of rising with intention. And for a while it worked. You thought being tired all the time meant something was wrong with you. You blamed yourself for being unmotivated, scattered, overwhelmed. But the truth is, you weren't broken. Your sacred energy was being siphoned off by distractions designed to keep you small. And now you're seeing it. Every time you pull your focus back to yourself, the resistance intensifies. The noise grows louder, the demands get heavier. That's not coincidence. It's the system trying to hold on. Because once you stop feeding the distractions, once you stop apologizing for choosing peace, once you remember that your time, your mind, your energy are sacred, that's when you become unstoppable. The storm isn't around you. It's been within you, waiting for you to silence the noise and reclaim the signal. Your focus is your power. Your attention is your currency. And when you spend it wisely, on purpose, on healing, on truth, the whole illusion begins to fall apart. You were under spiritual siege, but now you see. And once a chosen one becomes aware of their focus, they become a weapon the system can no longer control. For so long you believed your pain was personal, like you were cursed, like you were somehow broken in ways others weren't. You carried the weight of trauma that seemed too heavy for a heart your size, and you asked yourself, why me? But the truth is, your pain was never random. It was programmed. It was woven into your path with precision, not to punish you, but to prevent you from remembering who you are. They struck early, before you had language for your wounds, before you could defend your soul. Chaos, betrayal, abandonment. They weren't just experiences. They were calculated moves in a long game designed to confuse your identity, to hijack your power, to convince you that you were never enough. Because here's what they knew. If you ever looked past the pain, you'd find purpose. If you ever questioned why you suffered so deeply while others seemed to float through life asleep, you'd begin to wake up. And waking up? That's the system's greatest fear. They wanted you half alive, functional but fragmented. They didn't want you to crumble. No, they needed you standing, but disoriented, busy surviving instead of remembering. And for a while, you believed it. You wore their shame like your own. You called your scars burdens instead of blueprints. But that belief, that your pain was proof of weakness, was the real prison. The truth is, they didn't come for you because you were fragile. They came because you were formidable. Because your light, fully activated, would unravel everything they've built on fear. They hoped to break your spirit before it broke their illusion. But what they didn't expect was your resilience. That you would rise, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. That you would trace your trauma not to shame, but to clarity. And once you do that, once you see that every scar was a signal, every loss a lesson, every heartbreak a turning point, they lose their grip. Because a chosen one who stops running from their pain becomes unstoppable. And the very thing they tried to use to silence you becomes the force that wakes you up, sets you free, and shakes the world. You weren't cursed, you were conditioned. And now you're breaking the code. At first they mocked you, laughed at how deeply you felt, how boldly you moved, how differently you saw the world. You were too much, too intense, too weird. They rolled their eyes when you spoke your truth, dismissed your vision as fantasy. But then something changed. Quietly, they started mimicking you. The way you talked, the way you dressed, the ideas you once whispered in shadows now echoed in their mouths. And you noticed. The very energy they rejected was suddenly being repackaged, worn like a costume. But don't be fooled. This isn't admiration, it's imitation. And it never quite lands. Because while they may try to wear your light, they'll never carry its source. They can copy your style, but they can't access your frequency. That frequency wasn't taught, bought, or borrowed. It was earned, forged in silence, sculpted through solitude, refined through pain. You didn't become who you are by following trends. You became this by surviving what would have shattered most. And that's something no one can steal. What you carry isn't surface, it's soul. It's the fire that burned quietly when no one was clapping. It's the clarity that came after losing everything you thought defined you. That's the difference. They perform, but you became. While they were watching, you were transforming. While they were collecting applause, you were building depth. And now they wonder why they can copy everything you do and still not get the same results. It's because your essence can't be duplicated. You don't just influence, you ignite. You don't walk into a room seeking attention. You shift the atmosphere by being authentically aligned. And that alignment, that's what exposes the performance. That's why no matter how closely they mirror you, something still feels hollow. Because charisma can be practiced, but energy tells the truth. So let them try. Let them mirror and mimic. But never dim yourself to avoid being copied. Instead, shine louder. Because every time they try to replicate what lives in your bones, they remind the world that you were never a reflection. You were the blueprint. They can imitate your outer world all they want, but they will never carry the storms you survived to become this version of you. You are the origin, not the echo, and no one can fake the fire you walked through to remember your name. There were moments in your life when everything fell apart. Plans crumbled, people walked away, doors slammed shut before you even had the chance to step through. And in those moments, you questioned everything. You wondered if you were cursed, if the universe had turned against you, if maybe you just weren't enough. But now you're beginning to see the truth. You weren't cursed. You were protected. What felt like rejection was actually redirection. What broke your heart was never meant to break your spirit. It was meant to shield it. The closed doors weren't punishment, they were divine interventions, placed firmly in your path to keep you from settling for less than what you were born for. Because chosen ones don't just receive blessings, they require alignment. And anything out of sync with that alignment, no matter how beautiful it looked on the surface, had to go. The relationships that collapsed weren't failures, they were filters. They were never designed to carry the full weight of your calling. The opportunities that vanished weren't lost. They were distractions dressed as rewards, veering you away from a higher path you couldn't yet see. And the delays, the painful pauses, those were grace in disguise. The universe wasn't withholding, it was preparing. It was saying, not this, not them, not yet. Because your path is sacred ground, and not everything, or everyone, is meant to walk it with you. But when you didn't know that, it felt like pain. You grieved the people who left, the dreams that didn't take flight, the versions of your life that never came to be. Yet now, if you look closer, you'll notice a pattern. Every collapse made space for clarity. Every loss removed a layer of illusion. Every detour led you closer to your true self. You were never being punished. You were being positioned. The universe doesn't gamble with rare energy, it guards it. And sometimes that protection looks like loss, feels like heartbreak, sounds like silence. But that's only because your destiny requires more than comfort. It demands truth, power, purpose. And now that you're seeing with open eyes, you realize that what didn't work out was working for you all along. And every no that shattered you back then was a sacred yes in disguise. From the outside, it looked like your battles were with circumstances, lost jobs, broken relationships, missed chances. But the real war was never out there. The battlefield was always in your mind. The system never truly needed to take your possessions, your status, or even your voice. It only needed to hijack your perception. Because once it controlled how you saw yourself, it didn't need chains or bars. You'd hold yourself back. You'd silence your own truth. You'd believe the lies they planted so long ago that they began to sound like your own thoughts. You're not ready. You're too broken. No one will understand you. These weren't your beliefs. They were installations. Subtle, persistent programming slipped into your psyche through culture, childhood wounds, media, and manipulated environments. They whispered just loud enough to steer your thoughts, not to destroy you completely, but to keep you compliant, numb, small. They didn't want you enlightened. They wanted you entertained, exhausted, and emotionally overstimulated. Because the moment you think clearly, you see the game. And the moment a chosen one sees the game, they stop playing it. That's why your clarity has always been under attack, why confusion followed you, Why your peace was always interrupted. Because an awakened mind is a threat to every illusion built on lies. But here's what they didn't expect. You're awakening. Slowly, subtly, painfully at times, but undeniably, you're remembering. You're questioning your own thoughts, your old beliefs, and realizing most of them aren't even yours. The fog is lifting. The veil is cracking. And with every moment of self-awareness, the old programs lose their grip. You are no longer walking through life half asleep, blindly following the narrative. You're rewriting it, reclaiming your voice, restoring your vision. And as that inner light returns, so does your power. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that liberates. The kind that sees through manipulation, refuses self-betrayal, and stands tall in truth. And now, every step you take in clarity dismantles what was built on your confusion. That's why they feared your awakening, not because of what you have, but because of what you remember. Because when a chosen one takes back their mind, everything that tried to control them begins to fall apart. And that's exactly what's happening now. You spent so long bracing for the storm, waiting for things to get worse, preparing for the next wave of pain, the next trial, the next collapse. But what you didn't realize is that the storm you were fearing was you. You weren't meant to hide from the chaos. You were born to become it. Not chaos in the sense of destruction, but in the sense of disruption. A divine, untamable force sent to shake the foundations of everything built on lies. You weren't made to survive the storm. You were made to shift it. To awaken the world by your presence alone. And that's what they feared most. Not your voice, not your story, but your energy. Unapologetic, undeniable, and completely out of their control. You've been told your whole life to tone it down, to be quieter, easier, more digestible. But that was never your role. You weren't sent here to be comfortable. You were sent to make systems tremble. You were designed to carry fire in a world addicted to shadows, to bring clarity where confusion reigned, to walk boldly into spaces that never welcomed you and change the atmosphere without asking for permission. That's why your presence has always felt heavy, because it carries impact. And now, the truth is rising in you like a tidal wave. You're not waiting for something powerful to arrive. You are the arrival. You are the shift. You are the thunder that breaks silence. And as you step into this truth, as you embody the fullness of who you were always meant to be, the world around you will react. Some will distance themselves. Some will try to dim you again. But don't take it personally. Take it as confirmation. Because a storm doesn't ask permission to shake the sky. It just moves. And that's what you must do now. Move with purpose. Speak with clarity. Rise without apology. You are no longer a fragment. You are a force. No longer asking, when will the change come? But realizing, I am the change. So stop waiting. Stop shrinking. Stop bracing. The storm isn't coming. It's already here. And it's wearing your name. The moment everything begins to shift, not outside of you, but within. The moment when doubt gives way to remembrance and hesitation bows to alignment. You've walked through fire, through silence, through the storm of your own becoming, and now you're standing in the truth of who you were always meant to be. This isn't the end of a message. It's the beginning of a movement, a return, a rising. You're not here by accident. You were guided here because the universe knew it was time. Time for you to remember. So let this be the turning point, the moment you stop playing small, the moment you stop shrinking to fit what never deserved you. From this moment on, walk like you know who you are. Speak like you carry a frequency the world can't duplicate. Move like you were born to awaken others, because you were. And if this message spoke to something deep inside you, if you felt the truth crack open in your chest, if your spirit stirred while your eyes read these words, then know this wasn't just inspiration. This was activation. So thank you for showing up, for listening, for remembering. You are not alone. You are part of something bigger, something ancient, something unstoppable. If this message awakened something in you, help us spread the light. Subscribe to this channel, drop a comment below, and share this with someone who needs it. Every like, every share, every interaction sends this signal out to the other chosen ones who are still waiting to wake up. Because when we rise together, they fall faster. There are whispers in the spirit realm that not everyone can hear. A certain stillness that settles over a soul marked for something greater, set apart by the divine hand of God. These are not ordinary people. They carry something the world cannot comprehend. The invisible seal of being chosen. Have you noticed how, no matter how hard you try, you never quite fit in? That somehow, there's more to your life than the mundane chase of survival? That longing, that ache, is not confusion. It may be your calling. The chosen aren't always aware that they're chosen, and that unawareness causes them to wrestle with identity, rejection, and loneliness until they recognize the 7 unmistakable marks of their divine calling. So today, we journey deep into the mystery of what it truly means to be one of God's chosen. Prepare yourself, because by the end of this message, you may realize that you were never ordinary. You were marked for more. Mark 1. You disturb darkness without trying. Have you walked into a room and felt the tension shift? People glance at you differently. Conversations grow awkward. Certain individuals avoid eye contact, or worse, they slowly drift away from your life without explanation, and you wonder, did I do something wrong? But what if the answer is far more profound? When you are chosen by God, your presence alone carries weight. Without even saying a word, you disturb what is hidden. Not because you're confrontational, but because the light within you exposes the darkness around you. It's not visible to the eye, but it's felt in the spirit. People who harbor jealousy, manipulation, deceit, or spiritual compromise often find it uncomfortable to be near someone who walks in truth, integrity, and purity. They can't explain it, but they can feel it. Jesus experienced this constantly. He healed, loved, forgave, and yet the Pharisees plotted against him. Why? Because his very presence threatened their false righteousness. In John 8:44, he confronts them saying, "You belong to your father, the devil." That wasn't just bold, it was the truth that pierced their darkness. Likewise, those marked by God today carry a presence that confronts hypocrisy without effort. Toxic people may smear your name, twist your words, or exit your life altogether, not because you did wrong, but because you carry something they cannot understand or control. But here's the truth: rejection is often God's redirection. The distance others create might be His way of protecting your purpose. So don't dim your light to make others comfortable. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. And if people can't handle your light, they were never meant to walk in your destiny. Let the darkness flee. Keep shining anyway. Mark 2. You discern before others understand. There's a quiet knowing in your spirit, one that doesn't always make sense to others. You meet someone, and beneath their smile, you detect something deeper. You feel unease before trouble arises. You see the truth before it's revealed. This isn't just intuition. It's not paranoia. It's discernment, one of the clearest signs of being chosen. While others are distracted by appearances, the chosen ones are tuned to the unseen. It's as if your spirit can hear whispers others miss, feel danger others ignore, and see motives others don't notice. You've likely tried to warn people before about decisions, relationships, or situations, only to be misunderstood, dismissed, or even ridiculed. But when the truth finally surfaces, you're left thinking, I knew it all along. This spiritual sensitivity is not a coincidence. It's a gift and a responsibility. Just like Joseph, who dreamed of what was to come and was hated for it. His brothers mocked him, calling him a dreamer, not knowing that God had given him foresight into destiny. Those who carry discernment often carry rejection, because seeing what others can't makes them uncomfortable. But don't silence your insight to fit in. Discernment is a compass in a world full of counterfeit light. It protects, guides, and prepares. And though you may not always have the words to explain what you feel, trust that your spirit is sensing what heaven is revealing. You were never meant to walk blind. You were meant to move with clarity. So when you feel it, lean in. Don't second-guess it. What you perceive may be the very warning or wisdom that saves someone else. You don't just see differently. You see deeper because you were chosen to. Mark 3. You attract conflict without seeking it. You never asked for the fight. You never looked for drama. And yet, somehow, conflict seems to find you, even when your intentions are pure, even when your actions are harmless. People misinterpret your words, twist your silence, and question your motives. It feels unfair, confusing, and at times deeply painful. But here's the truth. Your life provokes what others are trying to ignore. Those who are chosen carry not just light, but truth, and truth unsettles. Your presence, even in silence, confronts the hidden darkness in others. The very values you live by, honesty, integrity, righteousness, stand in stark contrast to a world built on compromise. And for some, that contrast is unbearable. Look at Daniel. He wasn't looking for trouble. He was simply faithful, consistent, and honorable. Yet his integrity infuriated those who thrived on corruption, and they sought to destroy him. The problem was never Daniel, it was the conviction his life carried. And so it is with you. Your refusal to gossip, cheat, or conform becomes a silent accusation to those who do, and rather than confront their own flaws, they turn on you. But take heart. This is not a sign of weakness. It is evidence of your calling. God often allows conflict to refine, not define you. Let your character speak. Let your faith remain unmoved. Just as Daniel emerged from the lion's den untouched, so too will God vindicate you in time. You are not being attacked because you're in the wrong. You're being attacked because you're standing for what's right. Keep standing. Keep shining. And remember, chosen vessels always draw resistance because they carry something holy the world cannot ignore. Mark 4. You've never fully fit in. You've walked through life wearing a quiet question on your heart. Why do I always feel so different? It's not that you lack love for people, or that you don't long for connection, but no matter how hard you try, there's always a sense that you're standing just outside the circle. The jokes don't land the same, the conversations feel shallow, the rhythms of the world simply don't match the beat of your soul. This isn't rejection, it's a revelation. When God chooses someone, he often marks them with a holy restlessness. Earth is not your final home. The culture of this world was never meant to feel comfortable to a soul designed for eternity. They admitted that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. Hebrews 11:13. Think of Moses, raised in the palace of Egypt, surrounded by opulence and influence, yet something in him always felt off. Though he wore the garments of royalty, his spirit was dressed for a higher calling. He walked away from everything comfortable, because he knew his identity could not coexist with compromise. If you've always felt like you were too much or not enough for the spaces around you, take heart. It's a sign you were never called to blend in. You were called to break molds, not fit into them. The discomfort isn't punishment, it's preparation. You're not lost, you're being set apart. The ache you feel is heaven's reminder. You were made for more. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to lead, to illuminate, and to walk a road only the chosen dare to follow. Mark 5. Children and animals respond to you differently. There's something about you that words can't quite explain, yet the purest among us seem to recognize it instantly. Children who barely speak will stare at you with wonder, smile without prompting, or reach out to you with open arms. Animals that are usually guarded will sit near you, approach you without fear, or simply rest in your presence. You may have brushed it off as coincidence, but in reality, they're responding to what the world often misses. the presence of God within you. Those who are chosen carry a different atmosphere, a peace, a stillness, a spiritual clarity that radiates far beyond human language. And while many adults are too clouded by pride, pain, or distraction to recognize it, children and animals still operate with unfiltered instinct. Their spirits are sensitive, their discernment is pure, and when they encounter someone who carries light, they gravitate toward it. Let the little children come to me, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. Matthew 19:14. Jesus himself was surrounded by children who were drawn to him, not because of his position, but because of his presence. In the same way, what draws others to you isn't your appearance, your words, or your status. It's what rests on your spirit. A divine gentleness, a heavenly peace. Even in the Old Testament, Balaam's donkey perceived what the prophet could not, the presence of an angel on the road. That moment reminds us that God can reveal spiritual truths through the most unlikely vessels. So if children seek your arms and animals find rest near your feet, consider it holy confirmation. You carry something sacred, a fragrance of heaven, that even the innocent can recognize. Let that presence speak louder than your voice ever could. Mark 6. God speaks to you through dreams and signs. There are moments when life feels ordinary, until something happens that you just can't explain. A dream that lingers with haunting clarity. A conversation that feels divinely timed. A number that keeps repeating. A verse that appears at the exact moment your heart cries out for direction. These are not coincidences. They are whispers from heaven. When you're chosen, God doesn't just walk beside you, He communicates with you. Sometimes in bold ways, other times in the softest echoes, but always in truth, always with purpose. In the last days I will pour out my spirit. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. Acts 2:17. God has always spoken through dreams. He warned Joseph in the night. He guided the Magi with a vision. He gave Daniel revelations that shape nations. And today, He still speaks to those willing to listen. Not all signs come with thunder. Sometimes it's a closed door you didn't expect, a delay that saved you, a stranger's words that echo your secret prayer. The chosen are not guided by logic alone. They're led by the Spirit. They notice what others overlook. And when something stirs their soul, they pause and ask, "Lord, is this you?" The world may dismiss it as chance, but you know better. Because deep down, your spirit recognizes the fingerprint of God. He's never stopped speaking. The question is, are you paying attention? So lean in, trust the nudge, write down the dream, pray over the sign. Because when God speaks, it's never random. It's always to reveal, prepare, protect, or call you higher. And when you learn to listen, you'll never walk blindly again. Mark 7. Your prayers move heaven. There's a difference between speaking words into the air and releasing prayers that shake the heavens. When you pray, it's not a ritual. It's not repetition. It's a divine transaction between earth and eternity. And if you've ever prayed and watched things shift, doors open, chains break, peace flood in where chaos once ruled, then know this: your voice carries weight in the spiritual realm. Some people pray and hope, but the chosen pray and expect. They don't beg, they believe. Their words aren't empty, they are infused with authority, because their hearts are aligned with the heart of God. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. James 5:16. Look at Scripture. Elijah prayed, and the skies closed for 3 years. He prayed again, and rain returned. Paul and Silas sang in a prison cell, and the very foundations shook. Why? Because heaven responds to faith. And those who are chosen don't just believe in God, they walk in communion with Him. Your prayers have likely gone beyond yourself. You've interceded for others. You've whispered desperate cries in the dark, and though you didn't always see it instantly, something always moved. Because God listens closely when His chosen ones speak. But here's what's even more powerful. You don't need loud declarations to be heard. Sometimes the softest "Jesus help me" spoken through tears carries more weight than 1,000 polished phrases. It's not the eloquence, it's the surrender, it's the faith. If your prayers have moved mountains, it's because you're not just talking to God, you're walking with Him. Keep praying, keep believing. Because when the chosen pray, heaven leans in and earth is never the same. The final seal, God's invisible mark. There is a mark more powerful than any earthly title, a seal that cannot be seen with human eyes but is unmistakable in the spirit. It's not written in ink, nor stamped in stone, but it's etched into the very soul of the chosen. It is the invisible seal of God. Do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Ephesians 4:30. This seal is not given to the loudest voice, the most religious performance, or those who merely wear the name Christian. It is placed upon those who have surrendered fully, those who walk not in appearance, but in obedience. It is God's own signature, marking you as His. Throughout history, God has always marked His people. In the Old Testament, Israel was set apart through covenant. In the New, believers were sealed by the Holy Spirit. And in the final days, Revelation tells us that only those sealed by God will stand, while the rest follow the world's destruction. This seal isn't about perfection, it's about possession. It says, "This one belongs to me." The trials you've faced, the rejection you've endured, the fire you've walked through, they were not signs of abandonment, but of refinement. You are not common. You are not random. You are claimed. And while others chase after applause, approval, and possessions, you carry something far greater, the quiet authority of one who is known in heaven. So don't be discouraged by what you lack in the eyes of the world. You have something it can never give, the seal of the living God. And no enemy, no storm, no failure can erase what He has written over your life. You are marked. You are chosen. You are His. If you've seen yourself in even one of these marks, or maybe in all 7, then it's time to stop doubting who you are. You are marked by heaven. This is your moment, your invitation to walk boldly into purpose. You've been sealed for something greater, and now it's time to answer the call. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching this message. If it spoke to your spirit, if it stirred something deep within you, don't let it stop here. Hit the subscribe button and join a growing community of believers who, like you, are hungry for truth, destined for purpose, and ready to live as the chosen. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, and your journey is just beginning. Chosen one. Pause for just a moment. Let every distraction fade. Silence the noise around you. Still your racing thoughts. Because what you're about to read is not just another message, not just another spiritual encouragement. This is a divine transmission from the throne room of heaven itself, and it is no coincidence that you are here. Heaven has seen your struggles, your battles, your weary nights, and your hidden tears. Every detour, every heartache, every why me, all of it has led you here. You are being summoned. Heaven has an assignment with your name on it, and this message is the confirmation your soul has long waited for. The enemy has done everything in his power to prevent you from reaching this very moment. He sent distractions, discouragements, even despair. He whispered lies into your mind, sowed fear into your heart, and tried to bury your faith beneath layers of anxiety and trauma. But you're still here. And because you're still here, you've already won a battle the enemy hoped would break you. Now, get ready. Because what you're about to receive is not merely revelation, it is divine strategy. It is a heavenly blueprint that will shift your perspective, transform the way you fight, and ignite authority within you that hell has tried desperately to suppress. This is not about hype. This is about spiritual intelligence. This is about your weapon. And tonight you are permitted, no, authorized to wield it. There is a truth many people never fully grasp, a truth that, once revealed, changes everything. You cannot win a war you don't even realize you're in, and you certainly can't defeat an enemy you refuse to acknowledge. This is the silent tragedy playing out in the lives of countless believers. They wake up every day feeling pressure, anxiety, restlessness, or even despair, yet they have no idea why. They chalk it up to stress at work, relational heartbreak, financial tension, or mental fatigue. But what if the real source of these struggles isn't natural at all? What if what you're facing isn't just circumstantial, it's spiritual? Chosen one, hear this clearly. Behind every visible battle is an invisible war. You're not simply overwhelmed by life's chaos. You're standing in the midst of a spiritual battlefield. Every day, unseen forces wage war against your peace, your purpose, and your identity. You are not unlucky. You are not just going through a tough season. You are being targeted by an enemy who sees your potential more clearly than you often do. The Apostle Paul put it plainly in Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This scripture isn't metaphorical. It is a divine warning and a call to arms. Your true battle is not with the coworker who betrayed your trust or the person who walked away. It's not with the sickness in your body, the debt that keeps climbing, or the childhood wounds that never fully healed. These are the symptoms, but the source is deeper. You are contending with a coordinated network of spiritual darkness designed to drain your strength, derail your destiny, and drown out your voice before it ever rises in power. Picture this. You're standing on a battlefield. Arrows are flying, swords are clashing, warriors are charging. But you're frozen paralyzed, not because you're weak, but because you're unaware. You can't see the war swirling around you. You feel the pressure in your chest, the heaviness in your heart, the anxiety in your mind, but you don't know where it's coming from. So you stay still. You accept defeat. You live beneath the level of spiritual victory that was always meant to be yours. And that is exactly what the enemy wants. The devil thrives in your blindness. He does his best work when you live distracted, detached, and spiritually asleep. Because if you don't know you're in a war, you won't reach for your weapon. If you don't recognize the attack, you won't raise your shield. If you never resist, he can steal from your life with impunity. Your joy, your clarity, your passion, your calling without you ever pushing back. But today, everything begins to shift. Your spirit is waking up. This is not imagination. This is a revelation. You are not broken. You are not cursed. You are not crazy. You are a chosen warrior who's been under fire because of the greatness God has placed inside of you. And now that you are becoming aware of the battlefield, now that your spiritual sight is being activated, the enemy is losing his grip on your life. This is the beginning of your awakening. And from this moment forward, you will no longer live unaware. You will no longer allow darkness to operate in the shadows of your life unchecked. You are not defenseless. You are not weak. You are not alone. You are being equipped. You are being trained. You are being armed with the truth. And once you know the battle you're in, you can finally fight like someone who's destined to win. Have you ever sat quietly with your thoughts and asked, why has my life always felt like a battle? Maybe you've looked around and wondered, why do I seem to struggle more than others? Why does joy feel like a reward I have to fight for? Why does peace seem like something just out of reach? You see people smiling, thriving, walking through life with ease. Meanwhile, you've been wading through storms, some public, many private. From your earliest memories, it's felt like you've been in a fight. Even before you had the words to pray, before you understood the language of faith, you were already engaged in a war you didn't ask for. You've carried wounds that others couldn't see. You've endured betrayals from the very people who were supposed to protect you. You've walked through fire while desperately reaching for light. But here's the truth. Few will ever say out loud, you are not cursed. You are not forgotten. You are not broken beyond repair. You are chosen. That's not a poetic idea. That's a spiritual reality. The enemy doesn't waste resources on targets that pose no threat. If you were insignificant, he wouldn't have launched such an intentional attack against your life. If there wasn't something powerful within you, he wouldn't have worked so hard to try to bury it. The battle has always been intense because of what's inside you, not because of what's wrong with you. Before you ever discovered your identity in Christ, the enemy already had. Before you ever realized your calling, hell had already marked you as a threat. Before you ever said yes to God, the enemy recognized the mantle on your life. He saw the future impact of your obedience. He saw the power in your prayers, even before you knew how to speak them. He saw the fire in your voice, the authority in your spirit, the light in your destiny. And because of that, he came for you early. He didn't wait for you to mature in your faith. He started with childhood trauma. He planted seeds of fear, rejection, shame, and confusion, hoping to derail your purpose before you could even walk in it. But here's the miraculous part: he failed. Yes, the wounds were deep. The pain was real. The silence was heavy. But none of it stopped you. You're still here. You're still breathing. You're still seeking the truth. And that alone is proof of your spiritual resilience. What hell never wanted to happen is happening now. You are waking up. You are no longer blind to who you are. You are no longer believing the lie that you are unworthy, uncalled, or unwanted. You're beginning to see yourself through heaven's eyes, not as a victim of constant attack, but as a vessel of divine power. And with every revelation you receive, you are rising. With every lie you break, you are growing stronger. With every truth you embrace, you're becoming more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Let me say it clearly and boldly. You are a threat to hell. Your voice is powerful. Your purpose is vital. Your calling is unstoppable. The attacks on your life weren't because you're weak. They were because you're called. And now that you're stepping into that truth, the enemy knows he's running out of time. You are no longer who you used to be. You are not defined by your scars. You are not confined by your past. You are chosen, equipped, and awakened for something far greater than you've imagined. The battle around you has always been fierce, because the fire within you is even fiercer. And now, chosen one, it's your turn to rise and take your rightful place in the fight. Now that your eyes have been opened to the battle you're in and to the reason why the enemy has fought so fiercely against you, it's time to uncover the truth that changes everything. You are not defenseless. You have not been left to wander through spiritual warfare unarmed. Heaven has placed a weapon in your hands so potent, so unstoppable, that when used in faith, it causes the entire kingdom of darkness to tremble. This weapon wasn't crafted by human hands. It doesn't need bullets or blades. It doesn't rust, it doesn't run out, and it never fails. It has been tried through generations and has never once lost its power. And now, that weapon belongs to you. So, what is it? It is the Word of God. Before you dismiss that as something you've heard too often, stop and lean in. This isn't just a poetic metaphor. The Bible is not a religious relic or a collection of wise sayings. It is a living, breathing, divine instrument of war. It's not just ink on paper. It's the voice of God in written form, ready to be activated by faith and spoken with authority. Hebrews 4:12 declares, "For the word of God is alive and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. It penetrates even to dividing soul and spirit, joints and marrow. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart." This is no passive book. This is no dull blade. This is a supernatural sword. And every time you speak it in faith, you strike at the very core of darkness. Every verse is a blow against deception. Every promise is laced with the authority of heaven. Every declaration becomes a strike that tears through fear, anxiety, confusion, and every lie the enemy has used to cage you. Look at the model Jesus gave us. When he faced Satan in the wilderness, he didn't engage in debate. He didn't raise his voice or argue his worth. He simply stood firm and responded, "It is written." That was enough. With those 3 words wielded with divine confidence, Jesus shattered every temptation, silenced every manipulation, and sent the enemy retreating in defeat. This is the strategy of heaven. This is spiritual warfare at its highest level, not striving, not panicking, not pleading, but standing firm and speaking what God has already spoken. You don't win spiritual battles by complaining. You don't overcome darkness by trying harder. You win when you open your mouth and release the word of God with unwavering faith. Because when you do, demons flee, chains fall, atmospheres shift, and what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. The enemy hopes you never realize the power you possess in your tongue. He fears the day you stop quoting scripture as a ritual and start wielding it as a weapon. He dreads the moment when you begin to speak with boldness, not because of who you are, but because of who backs every word you speak. So today, let the truth sink deep into your spirit. You are armed. You are a warrior with a sword forged in eternity. And the word of God in your mouth is sharper, stronger, and more unstoppable than any force that stands against you. You don't have to invent the power. You just have to activate it, declare it, believe it, and wield it. Because when you do, you don't fight for victory. You fight from it. And nothing in hell can stand against a child of God who knows how to draw their sword. The enemy had a plan. He wasn't aiming to destroy you in a single blow. He wanted to wear you down slowly, relentlessly, methodically. He hoped to exhaust your strength before you ever discovered who you really are. His strategy wasn't always dramatic. Sometimes it was subtle distraction after distraction, disappointment after disappointment. He hoped you would settle into defeat, shrink back in fear, and surrender your purpose without ever stepping into the authority God placed within you. But now you know the truth. And once the truth is known, the enemy's grip begins to break. You're not barely making it. You're not scraping by in the dark, hoping for a miracle. You are being positioned by divine hands for something far greater than what you've seen. Every battle you've fought has trained your spirit. Every tear you've cried has watered the soil of your calling. Every silent night, every lonely hour, every unanswered prayer, it was never wasted. It was preparation. You are not just surviving anymore. You are rising into authority. You're not simply a believer, you are a warrior. You've been clothed in righteousness. You've been baptized in fire. Your prayers shake the atmosphere. Your presence carries fire because the Spirit of the living God dwells within you. This is not just your moment. This is your divine activation. The season of silence is over. The time of delay has expired. You don't need permission from man. You've already been authorized by God Himself. Every weapon formed against you may have tried to prosper, but not one succeeded. And now you are commanded to rise. This is your time to step out of fear and into boldness, to stop retreating and start advancing, to stop questioning your worth and start walking in your authority. The battles you've endured have built you, and now the fire inside you is greater than any storm around you. Draw your weapon, speak the word, pray with fire, stand in confidence, because tonight, heaven says this clearly over your life. You have been chosen. You have been trained, and now you have been authorized. Wield your weapon, warrior. The time is now. Heavenly Father, the great I am, the Lion of Judah, the consuming fire. Today I lift up every chosen one reading this message. This is not an accident. This is a divine appointment. Let every dormant spirit awaken. Let every buried dream rise. Let every spiritual gift that has been stifled now operate with full authority. Breathe your fire, your power, your wisdom, and your anointing upon them, O God. Break every chain, silence every lie, uproot every fear, cancel every assignment of darkness formed against them. Let them walk with holy boldness. Let them stand in spiritual clarity. Let them recognize who they are, not as the world sees them, but as you have declared. More than conquerors, ambassadors of light, warriors of the kingdom. And now, O Lord, as they lift the sword of the Spirit, your word, let victory be their portion. Let healing break forth. Let restoration flood their lives. Let divine acceleration overtake them. From this moment, they will no longer fight from defeat. They will fight from victory. In the mighty, matchless name of Jesus Christ. Amen. You are chosen. You are anointed. You are armed. And now you are dangerous. Let today mark your spiritual turning point. Declare it. Proclaim it. Walk in it. You have been permitted to use the weapon. Tonight, use it. If you feel this message in your soul, acknowledge it. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment 777 below to affirm your alignment. Let the spiritual realm witness your awakening. This is your moment. This is your mission. This is your destiny. And nothing will ever be the same again. You are chosen. Now act like it.